What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was the 10 Tails in DC the End. I want to give a massive thank you to Mason Anime Life 1719 for suggesting the 10 Tails Naruto concept. That was the spark I needed. I decided to take that idea and dial it up to 11 by adding the Sentry's powers to the mix. That combination of the 10 Tails' infinite chakra and Sentry's molecular manipulation is what made this story so wild. Thanks for the inspiration. Now, let's begin. Salad that walked like a man. It began with the dandelions. Dandelions are typically the nemesis of the suburban lawn enthusiast, a stubborn, yellow-headed pest that defies poison and resolve. In Bloodhaven, they were just fissures in the concrete. But on Tuesday morning, the dandelions on 5th Avenue didn't merely sprout. They erupted. With 8 a.m., the fractures in the pavement were disappeared, replaced with vivid, knee-high thickets of yellow flowers. By 8:15 a.m., the blossoms had turned to seed, creating clouds of white fluff so dense that they activated the fog lights during the morning commute. By 9 a.m., an oak tree sapling in front of the Bloodhaven Public Library had accelerated its growth cycle by 300 years. Its roots destroyed the sidewalk and lifted a hot dog stand 5 feet into the air. The vendor, a man named Gary, was sitting on a branch of the huge tree, clutching his mustard bottle and looked bewildered. Naruto Uzumaki stood at the base of the tree, gazing upward. "I didn't do it," Naruto said. "The atmospheric sensors indicate a massive spike in localized yang radiation," Batman said over the comms in Naruto's ear. "Originating from you, specifically, your footprints." Naruto looked down. Everywhere he stepped, vegetation sprouted from the asphalt. Not just grass. Lush, bright, prehistoric-looking ferns were sprouting from the imprints of his sneakers. "I'm leaking," Naruto said quietly, scared. "I'm leaking life." It's the connection to the ley lines, Constantine's warning rang in his mind. "You're feeding the planet. Fix it," Batman instructed. "The Department of Public Works is calling. They say the sewer lines on Elm Street are clogged with pumpkins." "Pumpkins?" Naruto blinked. "It's not even October." "Fix it, Naruto." The sewers below Elm Street. Naruto plunged down the manhole cover, landing in ankle-deep water. It smelled unusually earthy. Not like sewage, but like moist soil and mulch. The tunnel was clogged with vines. Thick green tendrils pulsed along the walls, emitting mild bioluminescence. Pumpkins the size of smart cars dangled from the ceiling, defying gravity with the sheer strength of their vines. "Okay," Naruto grumbled as he waded through the river. "Kurama, what's happening? Why am I a walking fertilizer bag?" The fox rumbled in his mind as you opened the door. "When you severed your soul to combat the Unity Box, you broke the seal on your own limiter. Your body is now a direct conduit for natural energy. You're breathing the globe and exhaling progress, so I just stopped breathing?" Kurama scoffed, saying, "You learn to filter. You can also ask the landlord." Landlord? Before Naruto could ask what this meant, the sea in front of him rippled. It did not splash. It rose. The algae, moss, and vines on the walls slithered downward, tangling together in the tunnel's core. They created a humanoid shape. It was massive, 7 feet tall, broad-shouldered, and made entirely of plants. 2 searing crimson eyes appeared in a visage made of root and leaf. Swamp Thing stared at Naruto. "You," the creature said. His voice sounded like a tree splitting in a storm. Slow. Deep. Ancient. Loud. Naruto stepped back, his battle instincts kicking in. He felt no malice, yet the force emanating from this thing was enormous. It seemed like the entire planet was staring at him. "I'm sorry," Naruto said. "I was told I mumble, not words," Swamp Thing said, taking a heavy, wet step forward. "Your light. It screams in the green, the plants. They cannot sleep. You wake them, with the sun of 1,000 summers." "I'm trying to turn it off," Naruto acknowledged, lifting his palms in a pacifying gesture. "I'm new to the whole nature conduit thing. Usually, I just punch stuff." Swamp Thing has stopped. He tilted his head, a vine swaying against his shoulder. "You are the ghost," the avatar of the green muttered. "The one who built the Stone garden in the sky, the moon. Yeah. The gray. Hates it, Swamp Thing said, but the green is curious. You are flesh, but you taste of sap and chakra. I know. Life, Swamp Thing replied. He held out his hand. It was gigantic, with thorn-tipped fingers. The Parliament of Trees. Wishes to speak. Parliament? Naruto rubbed the back of his skull. Do I need a suit? I hate suits. No suit, Swamp Thing replied. Only roots. The vines on the walls immediately sprang out and wrapped around Naruto's ankles. Whoa! Naruto flared his chakra to break them, but then paused. The vines were not attacking, they were grounding him. Allow him, Kurama advised. He is the Avatar. If you wish to control the leak, you must first understand the plumbing. Naruto relaxed. Okay. Take me to your leader. Swamp Thing closed his eyes. We are here. The green metaphysical plane, the sewer disappeared. The stench of waste evaporated. Naruto was standing in the forest. But it wasn't your typical woodland. The trees were skyscraper-sized, with canopies piercing an emerald sky. The air was filled with pollen, which tasted like honey. Standing around him were wooden figures, ancient, towering tree ants with faces etched into their bark. The vessel, the trees said in unison. The sound reverberated in Naruto's bones. This is weird, Naruto replied, taking a glance around. It's like Hashirama's backyard on steroids. Swamp Thing stood beside him. In the green, he resembled a king rather than a monster. Flowers blossomed from his shoulders. The green accepts you, Swamp Thing explained, but you are unbalanced. You give too much, you force growth. Where there should be rest. I don't mean to, Naruto protested. I have a lot of energy, it has to go somewhere. Balance, a gigantic redwood exclaimed. You are young. You are sun, but a forest cannot live on sun alone. It needs rain. It needs shade. It needs the rot. The rot? Said Naruto, frowning. Constantine mentioned the gray. The gray is the end, Swamp Thing said sadly. It is death. It is necessary, but the gray is hungry. Your moon attracts it. The balance is tipping. The ground below them shook. The emerald skies faded. What's happening? Naruto inquired. An intrusion, Swamp Thing said as his red eyes narrowed. In the waking world, the gray responds to your light. Bloodhaven, the construction site on the 9th. The construction site was a mud pit with half-poured concrete foundations. It was ugly, it was dead, until the murky fog moved in. It was not the harbor's mist, it was the gray. It smelled like formaldehyde and dead insects. Mud bubbled up from the pit's core. It went dark. It churned, rising to create a massive, terrifying shape. It resembled a corpse that had been left in a marsh for a decade, bloated, pallid, and smelling of decay. Born on a Monday, the monster moaned. Solomon Grundy. However, this was not the normal Grundy. The anti-life energy from the moon above was reacting with the gray, boosting the zombie. His skin was splitting, revealing the violet light beneath. The rot spreading from his feet was not only killing the grass, but also reducing the concrete to dust. Grundy. Want. Light. The creature groaned. He gazed at the city center. Toward the source of yang energy. Grundy smashed a bulldozer out of the path. The metal corroded and disintegrated in midair. The green, he is coming for you, Swamp Thing stated. Solomon Grundy. The avatar of the gray, corrupted. Let me go, Naruto cried as his astral form clenched its fists. I can take him. You cannot. Punch. The rot, Swamp Thing cautioned. If you strike him with life, he will feed. If you strike him with death, he will grow. He is a paradox. Then what do I do? Swamp Thing put a hefty hand on Naruto's shoulder. You must garden. Garden? Do not fight the rot, Swamp Thing said. Overgrow it. Don't give it food. Give it a home. The world swirled. The sewer's reality. Naruto gasped and stumbled back into the ankle-deep water. The vines freed him. Go, Swamp Thing replied, sliding back into the sea. I will manage the pumpkins. Naruto did not waste time. He leapt up the manhole shaft and jumped out into the street. He could feel it. The chilly, sucking void of Grundy. It felt like a black pit formed of compost. Naruto moved. He moved quickly across the streets, arriving at the building site in seconds. Grundy was present. He held a steel I-beam. In his grip, the beam was dissolving into rust. "Lightman," Grundy said as he saw Naruto. "Give Grundy shiny." Grundy tossed the beam. It was a shower of shrapnel before it even got to Naruto. "Okay." Naruto dodged and landed on a crane. "Don't punch. Don't blast. Garden." "How do I garden a zombie?" Kurama suggested wood release. "Suppress the rot with life, which provides structure. Bind him. Don't feed him energy. Give him mass, wood style." Naruto paused. "I haven't used that since I got the arm. And I'm not Yamato. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this
Kurama
video.
hissed.
I'm thrilled you watched the video.
You are the source of the divine
If you enjoyed
tree.
it, be
Create
sure
a
to
tree,
like and subscribe for even more exciting
Naruto
content
clasped
coming
his
your way
hands
soon.
together.
He directed the escaping natural energy, not into a blast, but into the ground beneath Grundy. Wood style. Deep forest emergence. He did not aim for Grundy. He aimed toward the mud. Rumble. The construction site erupted. Instead of fire, use roots. Massive, twisted roots emerged from the dirt. They did not strike Grundy, rather, they surrounded him. They wove together to make a cage. Grundy yelled, his rotten aura flashing. He touched the wood. Usually, the wood rots. However, this wood was infused with senjutsu, nature energy. It was constantly regenerating. Grundy decayed an inch, and the tree grew 2 inches back. Grundy stuck. The zombie exclaimed, flailing. "Keep growing." Naruto gritted his teeth while pouring more chakra into the ground. The cage got taller. It thickened. It started to take shape. It was not simply a cage, but a sarcophagus. A giant hollow tree trunk grew around the undead. "Seal!" Naruto screamed. He slapped his hand on the trunk. He employed the Uzumaki sealing chains, but instead of golden energy, he fashioned them out of vines. They curled around the trunk and tightened the bark. Inside, Grundy hammered on the wood. Thud, thud, thud. The decay and regeneration canceled each other out. Grundy slipped into a stasis, trapped not by force, but by a perfect ecology in which his death was quickly recycled into new life. Naruto collapsed against the recently constructed big tree. It stood 50 feet tall in the center of the construction site. It has magnificent purple flowers growing on its branches. That, Naruto said, was way harder than a Rasengan. "Impressive landscaping," a voice remarked. Naruto looked up. Nightwing was perched atop the crane, eating a churro. "You grew a giant tree in the middle of a construction zone," he said. "The zoning board is going to have a stroke. It's a containment unit," Naruto gasped. "Don't touch it. It has a zombie inside." "Of course it does," Dick replied, hopping down. "So, is this the new aesthetic? Post-apocalyptic jungle?" "I'm working on it," Naruto said as he pushed himself off the tree. "I need to learn to control the output. I can't just leak life everywhere." The ground near them rippled. A huge, white orchid blossomed fast. The orchid unfolded its petals. Inside, a face appeared. Swamp Thing's face was composed of pollen. "Good gardening," the flower said. "Thanks, Leafy," Naruto said. "The Parliament is pleased," the flower added. "They offer you a gift." The blossom died instantly, leaving only a little wooden seed. It was perfectly circular and filled with green vitality. "What is it?" Dick inquired, leaning forward. Naruto picked it up. It felt warm. Kurama recognized with surprise that it was a white Zetsu seed. "No. Not Zetsu. It is a completely chakra-reactive spore. If you swallow it, it will function as a regulator. It will absorb and store any surplus leaks. It's a filter," Naruto discovered. "Like a catalytic converter for my chakra." He placed the seed in his mouth and swallowed. The heaviness in his chest subsided almost instantly. The grass around his feet has stopped growing. The air has cleansed of the high pollen concentration. "Better?" Dick inquired. "Much," Naruto breathed deeply. "I feel quiet." "Good," Dick clasped him on the shoulder. "Because Diana called." She said something about a magician in a top hat asking to see the Wizard of the Moon. Also, Bruce wants to know if you have a permit for the tree. Naruto grumbled. I saved the city from a rotting Hulk, and Batman wants a permit? It's Gotham rules, buddy. Paperwork is the real enemy. The Bat Cave Gotham City. Bruce Wayne viewed a satellite feed of the huge tree in Bloodhaven. Analysis? He inquired. The tree is biologically impossible, Alfred replied, examining the readings. Its cellular density is akin to titanium, and it is actively purifying the air in a 10-mile radius. It has reduced the city's carbon footprint by 40% in 10 minutes. And the creature inside? Solomon Grundy is in deep hibernation, Alfred stated. The tree is feeding off his necrotic energy and converting it into oxygen. It is a perfect symbiotic prison. Bruce slumped back in his chair. He turned a zombie into an air freshener, Bruce said softly. Master Naruto does have a unique approach to problem solving, Alfred commented dryly. Shall I draft the permit application for the urban reforestation project? Do it, Bruce instructed, and send a team to guard that tree. If Ivy finds out about it, she'll try to move in. Bloodhaven, the apartment. Naruto stepped in weary. He headed directly into the kitchen. He looked at the toaster. He put a slice of bread inside. He pushed the lever. He waited. Pop! The toast appeared. It was golden brown. Perfectly crisp. No demons. No slime. Just toast. Naruto stared at it. He took a bite. It's perfect, he muttered. He despised it. He put away the toast and took a ramen cup. Some things, Naruto smiled, pouring hot water, shouldn't change. As he sat down to eat, his phone vibrated. Diana sent a text. Diana. Zatanna is in town. She wants to see the tree. And she claims you owe Constantine $5 for the salt. Naruto. Tell her that I paid him for ghost busting services. Diana. She claims she can convert you into a hamster. Please pay the dude. Naruto laughed and gazed out the window at his city. The new tree loomed tall in the distance, a beacon of green against the bleak. Hamster, Naruto remarked. Kurama, could I take a hamster in a fight? Go to sleep, Naruto, the fox sighed. The Grundy tree, as the locals affectionately and somewhat morbidly dubbed it, had become the hottest tourist attraction in Bloodhaven. The tree, standing 50 feet tall in the center of a roped-off building site on 9th Avenue, was a biological impossibility. Its bark was a glittering, shiny mahogany that appeared to hum when the wind blew. Its leaves were gigantic, umbrella-sized canopies of emerald green, dripping pure, drinkable condensation. And what about the flowers? The flowers were the main draw. They were purple and pulsated gently with bioluminescence, which made the night shift construction workers nervous. It was 10 a.m. A Metropolis tour bus had just unloaded a party of Japanese visitors, who were now taking pictures with the Department of Public Works. Beware of zombie. Sign erected on the outer fence. It's magnificent, a traveler whispered while taking a photo. It's a zoning violation, a city official said, jotting on a clipboard nearby. Naruto Uzumaki watched the show from the rooftop of the deli across the street, his legs dangling over the edge. He was eating a simple bagel, no demon slime, while admiring the ecology he had unintentionally created. The carbon dioxide levels in this sector have dropped to pre-industrial levels, Naruto said while chewing. And the pollen count is surprisingly low. The white zetsu seed is working. Kurama's voice echoed in his mind. The tree is hungry. It's digesting the rot from the thing inside, but it wants more. It seeks water. It rained yesterday, Naruto commented. It wants chakra water, the fox clarified. You should urinate on it. I am not peeing on a national landmark, Kurama, coward. Naruto was going to dispute the finer issues of public decency with the nine-tailed demon lord living in his abdomen when a strange silence fell over the audience. It wasn't fear-induced quiet, it was the quiet of awe. Naruto leaned forwards. A woman walked along the center of 9th Avenue. She did not walk on the asphalt. Wherever her bare feet touched the ground, the pavement cracked and thick carpets of moss sprung up to soften her step. She wore a bodysuit made of leaves that changed color to match her mood, currently a predatory, brilliant green. Her hair was a brilliant shade of red that rivaled the sunset. Poison Ivy had arrived in Bloodhaven. She did not look at the tourists. She did not look at the police officers, who were desperately fumbling for their radios. She just had eyes for the tree. "Mother," Ivy said quietly, her voice drifting on the breeze like a plea. She neared the perimeter fence. The chain-link barrier corroded instantaneously in her presence, disintegrating into iron oxide dust. She stepped across the gap. A security guy, bold yet naive, stood in her path. "Ma'am, this is a restricted area. You can't." Ivy did not even slow down. She flipped her wrists. A vine emerged from the tarmac, wrapped around the guard's ankle and lifting him 20 feet into the air. He dangled and screamed. "Hush," Ivy murmured softly. "You are polluting the air with your noise." She got to the base of the Grundy tree. She put both hands on the silver bark. She closed her eyes, expecting to feel the familiar pulse of the green, the slow, rhythmic consciousness of the plant kingdom. Instead, she gasped. She did not sense a tree, she felt like a titan. She sensed an ancient, thick, and overwhelming power that reminded her of divinity rather than biology. And, buried deep within that divinity, she sensed the rot, the caged zombie, screaming in mute, composting pain. "You are suffering," Ivy screamed, her eyes widening. They radiated a strong, poisonous green. "They have made you a jailer. A cage for the dead." The ground trembled. "I will free you," Ivy assured. "And we will turn this city into a garden of vengeance." The rooftop. "Ah, hell," Naruto moaned, dropping the final mouthful of his bagel. "I knew the permit wasn't going to be enough." He stood up. He did not teleport. He did not want to startle her into crushing the guard. He calmly hopped from the roof, falling 5 floors and landed on the street with a quiet thump that did not split the concrete. "Excuse me," Naruto exclaimed, walking toward the gate. "Lady, you're going to void the warranty on that tree." Ivy turned. Her face was one of utter contempt. She spotted a boy wearing a tracksuit. "An annoyance. A weed. Go away, little man," Ivy said. "Before I turn your lungs into a fern." "I like my lungs," Naruto stated, pausing 10 feet away. "And I like that tree. It's doing a good job. It's keeping a very angry monster from eating the city. If you break it, the monster wakes up, and Grundy is grumpy in the morning." "The green should not serve the gray," Ivy said as she spat. "This tree is a slave. It is forced to consume filth. I will release it." She raised her hands. "Rise," Ivy demanded. The pavement on 9th Avenue exploded. Massive, thorny vines, as thick as subway cars, emerged from the ground. They lunged out, intending to rip the Grundy tree apart from the outside in order to breach the barrier. "Nope," Naruto replied. He did not weave signs. He didn't shout any jutsu names. He just stomped his foot. Clap. A golden chakra shockwave reverberated over the ground. It struck Ivy's vines. Typically, chakra disrupts magic. But this was senjutsu. This was nature energy. Naruto did not destroy Ivy's vines. He overruled them. The thorny, aggressive vines came to a standstill in midair. The thorns withdrew. The harsh green faded to a rich, healthy verdant tint. Flowers bloomed immediately along their length. The vines lowered themselves gently to the earth, curled up like sleeping kittens. Ivy just stared. Her jaw fell. "What?" she stuttered. "What did you do?" "Those are my babies. They obey me." "They obey nature," Naruto explained, his hands in his pockets. "And right now, I'm the loudest voice in the room." He stepped forward. "Look, I know who you are. Poison Ivy. Batman has a file. Eco-terrorist, loves plants, hates people, allergic to herbicides. I get it. You want to protect the green stuff, me too. That tree? It's my wood." "Your wood?" Ivy blinked, perplexed by the term and the overwhelming force she had just witnessed. "My jutsu," Naruto said. "I made it. It's part of me. So you can't control it. It's like trying to tell my arm to punch me in the face. It won't listen." Ivy's shock turned to wrath. No guy had more control over the green than she did. Not the Floronic man. Not Swamp Thing. And certainly not a tracksuit-clad teen. You have a connection, Ivy confessed, her voice falling to a sexy, dangerous purr. She began walking towards him, wiggling her hips. A potent one. I can smell it. It smells like sunlight. She released her pheromones. It was a specialized blend. A poison made from Amazonian orchids and mutant nightshade. It was intended to bypass willpower, shut down the brain's thinking centers, and induce a condition of complete, slavish devotion. The air surrounding them turned pink. The vacationers in the distance swooned and collapsed onto the grass in a haze. Even the birds had ceased singing. Naruto sniffed the air. Smells like lavender, he said. And, bleach? Did you just clean your suit? Ivy paused, centimeters from him. She leaned in and blew a cloud of golden dust right into his face. Kiss me, she said softly, her words ringing in his head. Surrender to the garden. Naruto blinked. He sneezed. Achoo. His sneeze triggered a burst of wind, a mini hurricane, that blew the spore cloud back over Ivy. She coughed and waved the dust away. Impossible. That toxin can drop a Kryptonian. Why aren't you falling in love with me? I'm already seeing someone, Naruto admitted, wiping his nose on his sleeve. And she's way scarier than you. Also, I have a fox demon living in my gut who eats toxins for snacks. Sorry. Ivy stared at him. Her pheromones failed. Her vines failed. She hissed, her beauty transformed into something wild. If I cannot seduce you, I will decompose you. She lunged, her fingernails growing into razor-sharp thorns laced with necrotic venom. She aimed at his jugular. Naruto didn't flee. He grabbed her wrists. But when he touched her, something occurred. The contact completed their link to the green. Ivy gave a gasp. Her eyes rolled backward. She didn't glance at Naruto anymore. She was looking at him. She spotted the seal. She saw an ocean of chakras. She saw it in the heart of the ocean. The holy tree. The tree of God. The Jubi. It wasn't a plant. It was the first plant to grow. It was a cosmic being that ate worlds to grow. It was a forest all by itself. Ivy noticed the 10 tails wrapped around the tree, and its one eye was looking right at her. Little weed, the 10 tails' voice resonated in her mind. You play with gardens, but I'm the forest that eats planets. Ivy yelled. She tore her hands away and ran back. She dropped upon the grass and shook. What are you? She cried, looking up at Naruto with fear and astonishment. You are not a meta-human. You are the seed, the alpha and the omega of the green. Naruto was uncomfortable and scratched his cheek. Yeah, it gets complicated. Look, I promise I'm not going to eat the planet. I'm on a diet. He held out his hand to help her get up. Ivy saw the hand. It was the hand of a god who could change the world from a garden to a desert with just a thought. She accepted it. The tree, Ivy muttered as she stood up, her legs shaking. Is it really a prison? It's a compost bin, Naruto said softly. Grundy is inside. He's rotting. The tree eats the rot, turns it into oxygen, and grows stronger. It's a cycle. Life from death, isn't that what you want? Ivy stared at the Grundy tree. Now she saw things in a different way. She didn't see a slave. She saw a work of art in bioengineering. A perfect loop of purification that keeps itself going. It is beautiful, she said, a tear coming from her eye. It is the best photosynthesis I've ever seen. Naruto said, you can come over. But don't break it, and don't hurt the guards. They're just doing their jobs. Ivy saw the guards still hanging from the vine. She snapped her fingers, and the vine slowly lowered him to the earth. Ivy pledged, I won't break it. She gazed at Naruto with a strange new look in her eyes. It wasn't love, it was a religious duty. I will study it. The god tree will teach me. He said, you can just call me Naruto. The god thing makes Batman mad. As you wish, Lord Naruto, Ivy said as she bowed. It was a very formal curtsy. She turned around and left. The pavement healed itself after her. The moss went away. The tourists woke up and didn't know why they suddenly wanted salad. Naruto saw her leave. He tried out the name, Lord Naruto. Nope. It's still strange. The Batcave, the monitor went off when Batman switched it off. She bowed. Batman stated in a monotone voice, Poison Ivy. The woman who tried to feed Robin to a Venus flytrap. She bowed to him. Alfred replied, "It looks like Master Naruto has neutralized the threat," as he set a tea tray on the console. By being biologically superior. Batman's voice was low as he pulled up a new file on the computer. He's not just a powerhouse anymore, he's becoming a figurehead. First the civilians, now the elementals. He's getting people to follow him. Is that dangerous, sir? Batman said, "It's going to happen. Power draws worship. Naruto doesn't want it, which is good. But the people who do want it." Batman opened a secure line to the Justice League watchtower. "Change the threat level for Bloodhaven," Batman told them. "The city is no longer just a safe place, it's a holy place." Prison Belle Rev Louisiana Amanda Waller did not bend. She was in her office, watching at a screen that showed Naruto and Poison Ivy meeting. The sound was clear. It had been recorded by a little drone fly she had sent out weeks before. Waller typed into a file called Project Foxhunt. He's immune to neurotoxins. He can override biokinesis, and he has a biological entity inside him called the God Tree. She looked at the man who was standing in the shadows of her office. He was tall and wore a high-tech suit with a red eyepiece that glowed. He was cleaning a sniper weapon. "Deadshot," Waller said. "You saw the video?" "I saw a kid make Ivy look like a bad gardener," Deadshot said with a shrug. "Do you want me to shoot him?" Deathstroke tried, but it didn't work. Waller said, "Don't shoot him. I want you to take something from him." "Blood?" "No," Waller said with a smile that looked like a shark's. "He grew a tree out of his own DNA and chakra. That tree is a biological sample the size of a building. I want a piece of it. Do you want me to steal a branch?" Deadshot asked, raising an eyebrow. "Steal a sample of the sap," Waller said to amend himself. "Our scientists think that the sap from that tree might be the key to the super soldier serum we've been trying to make for 50 years but haven't been able to. It gives you infinite stamina and regeneration, and the child?" Waller told him to distract him. "Activate Task Force X. Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark. Send them in loud and make a mess. While the ghost is busy being a hero, you get the sap." Deadshot put the slide on his gun. "It's a mission to kill yourself." "That," Waller said, pressing a button on her desk that set off the bombs in her squad's necks. "That's the name of the game." Bloodhaven. That night Naruto was lying in bed, looking up at the ceiling. Diana was sleeping next to him, her breathing soft and steady. He couldn't fall asleep. Ivy's visit had shaken him up. Not the struggle. That was easy. What she saw was it. The Tree of God. He shut his eyes and went into his head. There was no more sewer. A thick, green forest took its place. The water was clean. Kurama was sleeping under a huge tree that looked just like the one he had made for Grundy, except it was much bigger. Naruto went up to the fox. "Kurama," he said softly. A big eye opened. "Am I getting different?" Naruto wondered. "I'm not just a ninja anymore. I'm leaking life. I'm turning zombies into trees." "Ivy looked at me like I was a god," Kurama said. "You are changing. The 10 Tails power and the Sentry power are coming together. You are turning into a sage of 6 paths, but on a scale that this cosmos has never seen before. Naruto, you are becoming the planet." Naruto remarked, "I don't want to be the planet," as he hugged his knees. "I just want to be the guy who fixes things." Kurama told him to keep his humanity, then closed his eye. "Keep the girl close. Keep the ramen. Because the world will strive to make you a deity. And gods are alone." Naruto left the mindscape. He woke up in the dark bedroom. He took Diana's hand in his. It was hot, it was real. Naruto mumbled to the darkness, "Just a guy. Just a guy." A helicopter with no insignia swooped low under the radar and headed straight for the City of Peace. It had a crew of crooks, a shark man, and a madman with a baseball bat on board. The US government stole Waynetek's stealth coating, which made the helicopter flying above Bloodhaven theoretically invisible to radar. But a city that had been micromanaged by a sensory god for the past month could still see it. Task Force X was sitting in the red gloom of the jump bay inside the chopper. "This is dumb." Captain Boomerang, Digger Harkness, said as he polished a boomerang that appeared like it could cut through anything. We're going to a city where there is no crime. Do you know what that means? It means the guy in charge doesn't sleep. It means we're walking into a woodchipper. Ooh, a woodchipper, Harley Quinn screamed as she swung her legs from the bench. She was putting on black lipstick in a small mirror. Do you think he's cute? The news says he glows. I like shiny things. Mr. J never glowed. He just kind of oozed. King Shark is hungry, Nanawe growled from the corner. He was a huge, human-like great white shark that wore denim shorts and a military vest that couldn't hold his weight. Does the golden fish taste like fish? He's not a fish, Nanawe, Deadshot, Floyd Lawton, stated calmly as he looked through the sight of his wrist-mounted mag cannons. He's a target, and we're the distraction. Remember the plan. Make noise, keep him busy, and don't get into a direct fight unless you want to be vaporized. Digger said, Waller says he's soft. He says he catches bad guys and puts them in timeout. Sounds like a jerk. Deadshot said, he put a moon in orbit. He's not weak, he's bored. The light on the pilot turned green. Time to show off, clowns, Deadshot added. He took off his mask, and the red eyepiece lit up. Boomerang, Harley, Shark, you hit the financial district. Break things. I'm going to the park. They leapt. The Bloodhaven Financial District, 2:15 a.m. A boomerang cutting through the front doors of the First National Bank broke the quiet of the night. The glass broke and flew out. The alarm went off. Boomerang strutted into the lobby and exclaimed, G'day, Bloodhaven. Daddy needs a new pair of everything. Harley Quinn cartwheeled in behind him with a huge hammer. She broke a vase that was for decoration. One strike. King Shark came in last. He stared at the ATM. He tore it out of the wall, not to steal the money, but to eat the metal case. Crunch. Nanawe murmured, tastes like debt, as he chewed on the keypad. They stayed put. A minute went by. 2 minutes. Boomerang looked at his watch and inquired, where is he? Waller said his response time is instantaneous. Maybe he's asleep? Or maybe, a voice from the vault door yawned, he was watching a movie. The squad turned around. Naruto Uzumaki was on top of the huge steel vault. He was on fuzzy orange pajama bottoms and a tee that proclaimed, I heart ramen. He had a bowl of popcorn in his hand. Naruto threw a kernel into his mouth and remarked, serious question. Do you guys know how hard it is to find a VHS copy of Space Jam? I finally got the tracking fixed, and then boom, the bank alarm went off. Harley exclaimed, there he is. The glowstick. She ran at him. She moved like an Olympic gymnast, tumbling over the teller counter and swinging her mallet with enough force to break a skull. Get ready to bat. The mallet swung toward Naruto's head. Naruto stayed still. He raised one finger. Thud. The mallet smacked his finger and then stopped. The kinetic energy bounced back down the handle, shaking Harley's arms so fiercely that her pigtails shook. Naruto said, that's a nice mallet. Oak or hickory? Polymer composite. Harley grunted as he tried to yank it back. It wouldn't budge. Stop, you're cheating. Digger yelled, boomerang. He threw 3 boomerangs that blew up. They curled in the air, trying to hit Naruto where he couldn't see them. Naruto let out a sigh. For a split second, his golden chakra surged up. Wish wish wish. 3 little hands comprised of orange energy that sprang out of Naruto's back snatched the boomerangs in midair. Naruto asked, explosives in a small space? With a frown. This is a historic building, and you'll damage the ceiling's structural integrity. The chakra hands broke the boomerangs. The explosions were kept inside the energy palms, which made a muffled popping sound. Deadshot. Nanao's voice crackled across their comms, even though he wasn't there. Eat him. The king shark roared. He ran, and the tiles on the floor broke under his weight. He opened his huge mouth, which had rows of sharp fangs that could bite through the hull of a submarine. He bit Naruto on the head. Crack. The bank was quiet. King Shark pulled away. He spit up a few fractured teeth. OWW. Nanawe whimpered, holding his jaw. Golden fish is candy made of rocks. Naruto reached up and wiped some shark spat off his hair. Dude. Give me some space. He stared at all three of them. Naruto said, "So," and jumped from the vault. "You're from the Suicide Squad, right? Amanda Waller sent you? Bombs in the necks?" Boomerang asked, "How did you know?" As he stepped back, Naruto pointed to his neck and said, "I can hear the detonators humming. Encrypted signal on radio frequency 455.2 MHz. I can hear Waller's heart rate in Louisiana. She's nervous. Harley let go of her mallet. You can hear her? Please tell her she owes me $5 for lunch." "Harley," Boomerang said in a low voice, "pay attention." "I'm focused," Harley said with a pout, "but he's invincible." Sharky broke his grill. "My hammer is useless, and you're just standing there with a stick." Naruto saw King Shark wailing softly because his teeth were damaged. Naruto said, "Oh, come on, feeling bad, don't cry." "I hate it when they cry." Naruto walked up to the giant shark man. Nanaue jumped. "Open up," Naruto said in a soft voice. Nanaue opened his mouth. Naruto put his hand on the shark's nose. His palm sparkled with a faint green light. Yang release, regeneration of cells. The fractured teeth dropped out, and right after, new, sharper teeth grew in to take their place. The bruises on Nanaue's jaw went away. "Is it better?" Naruto said. Nanaue ran his tongue over his new teeth. New teeth. Sharp. With big, attractive eyes, he glanced at Naruto. "Golden fish. Is a friend?" "Sure, big guy," Naruto said as he rubbed the shark's head. "Golden fish is a friend, but don't bite." Nanaue agreed, "No biting." Naruto looked at Harley and Boomerang. "Now," he murmured, crossing his arms. "I know this is a distraction. Deadshot is at the Grundy tree right now, trying to steal a sample. Am I right?" Boomerang's mouth dropped open. "How the hell?" Naruto said. "I have clones. A lot of them. One is watching Deadshot use a laser cutter to try to cut the bark. It's not working, by the way. The bark is chakra hardened." Harley laughed. "You're really good. Batsy told me you were a detective, but he didn't say you were psychic." "Not psychic," Naruto said as he tapped his head. "Just so you know, I'm going to turn off your bombs so Waller can't kill you." Boomerang asked, "You can do that?" "With hope," Naruto responded, "already did. While I was healing the shark, I sent a chakra pulse through the radio frequency. The detonators are fried." He pointed to the door. "Go get some pizza. There's a place on 4th called Mario's. Tell them Naruto sent you. Don't rob it, or I'll send you to the real sun, pizza." Nanaue yelled. "Wait," Harley said, squinting her eyes. "You're just letting us go?" Naruto remarked. "You're not the bad guys." His eyes seemed elderly for a second. "You're just the weapons. I don't blame the kunai for cutting. I blame the ninja who threw it." He disappeared. "Pizza?" Nanaue requested once again. "Pizza," Harley said, as she picked up her mallet. "And then we leave Waller behind and go to Mexico." The Grundy Tree 9th Avenue Deadshot was sweating. The Wayne Tech prototype laser cutter that could cut diamonds was getting too hot. The bark of the tree wasn't even scraped. It was like attempting to cut through a wooden force field. "Come on," Floyd said quietly. "Waller will kill me if I come back with nothing." A voice from the branch above him murmured, "She won't. I broke her remote." Deadshot turned and aimed his wrist cannons. Naruto was hanging from the branch by his legs and looking bored. Naruto said, "You must be the pro. Floyd Lawton. Deadshot. He never misses, but he does when he fights Batman because Batman has plot armor." "Get down," Deadshot said, pointing his gun at them. Naruto said, "You're trespassing," and then he fell to the ground. "This tree is a biohazard containment unit. If you pierce the bark, you let out necrotic spores. You'd turn into a zombie in 3 seconds." Deadshot dropped his gun a little. "I have orders. To steal the sap," Naruto said with a nod. "Waller thinks it's a serum for super soldiers. It gives them infinite regeneration and makes them immortal." "Is it, technically?" Naruto said with a shrug. "It's a mix of concentrated nature energy and undead compost. If you injected it, you wouldn't become a super soldier. You'd turn into a tree. A very angry, screaming tree." Under his mask, Deadshot turned pale. "She didn't tell me that." Naruto said, she doesn't care, she just wants the weapon. If you die while testing it, that's just data to her. Naruto got closer. Deadshot didn't shoot, he knew it was useless. He had heard the messages. The shark was eating pizza. The bombs were gone. Naruto murmured softly, you have a daughter. Zoe. Deadshot got tense. Don't say anything about her. Naruto raised his hands and stated, I'm not threatening her. I'm saying. I get it. You do the dirty work so she can have a clean life. That's respectable, in a way. Naruto put his hand in his pocket. Naruto said, I can't give you the real sap, it's too risky. But Waller needs a win, or she'll keep sending people. Someone will get hurt eventually. He took out a small glass bottle. It was full with a thick, amber-colored liquid. What's that? Deadshot asked. Sap, Naruto said without any trouble. I got it from a different tree, a maple tree in Vermont. I added a little bit of yang chakra to it, just enough to make it glow and show up as anomalous on her scanners. He threw the vial to Deadshot. Naruto smiled and said, it won't make her live forever. But it will make the best pancakes she has ever tasted. It gives you energy, gets rid of hangovers, and clears up your skin. Deadshot got the vial. He gazed at the bright orange liquid. You're giving me maple syrup that works like magic? Naruto said, it's a peace offering. Give it to Waller and tell her it's the prototype. Tell her it needs to be improved. That will buy you a few months while she looks at it. By the time she figures out it's a breakfast condiment, I'll have come up with a permanent fix for her. Deadshot thought for a moment. He stared at the vial. He glanced at the youngster who might kill him in a second but was instead working with him. Why? Deadshot asked. Naruto said, because parents shouldn't die because their bosses are greedy. Deadshot put his guns away. He put the vial in his pocket. Ghost, you're a strange kid. I hear that a lot. Deadshot turned on his evacuation beacon. A black stealth plane came out of hiding over them. Deadshot said, if she finds out. Naruto responded, she won't. And what if she does? Tell her to come next time. I have a sandwich with her name on it. Deadshot took hold of the ladder. He stopped. Thanks. Tell Zoe I said hi. The airplane roared and then disappeared into the dark. Belle Rev prison 2 days later. Amanda Waller was in her office. There was a lot of tension in the air. The mission had gone horribly wrong. The squad had gone rogue for 3 hours, eating pizza and partying in Bloodhaven before going back to the extraction spot on their own. But Deadshot had done what he said he would. There was only one bottle of blazing amber liquid on her desk. Waller asked Dr. Alpert, the top scientist, analysis? It's amazing, Dr. Alpert mumbled as he fixed his glasses. The energy readings are through the roof. It has a biological compound we've never seen before. It gives off pure life force. Can it be used as a weapon? The doctor said, we don't know yet. We need to see how it affects living tissue. Try it out on Subject 4, Waller said. Subject 4 had a degenerative muscular condition and was a lab rat. The scientist gave the rat a tiny drop of the liquid. The rat made a noise. It opened its eyes wider. It did a flip. Then it started to run on its wheel. It went quickly. Very fast. It ran for 4 hours continuously without pausing. The fur got shiny. It seemed glad. It works, Waller said, her eyes shining with victory. It gives you more energy and helps you heal. It's the key to the super soldier program. She grabbed up the bottle. She stirred the liquid. Great job, Lawton. She opened the vial and took a small whiff. It had a lovely scent. Earthy. It smells like victory, Waller said in a low voice. It smelled like grade A Vermont maple syrup, but Waller had never eaten the genuine thing, so she didn't know the difference. Bloodhaven the flat Naruto was cooking pancakes. Diana walked into the kitchen and said, "You're happy this morning." She took a strawberry from the chopping board. Naruto said, "I solved a problem while expertly frying a pancake. And I didn't have to hit anyone. I did poke a shark, but he liked it." Diana stated, "Batman called," as she sat at the counter. He said Waller is quiet. Too quiet, in fact. He thinks she's up to something. "Let her plan," Naruto said as he put syrup on his stack. She's going to be very busy figuring out my secret formula. Secret formula? Naruto smiled and said, chakra-infused maple syrup. It makes you hyper. I give it a week before half of Bell Rev starts running marathons. Diana shook her head and laughed. You are a threat, Naruto Uzumaki. I try, he said, kissing her cheek. Breakfast? Only if you give me some syrup. Naruto said, sorry, and hugged the bottle tight. This is classified military grade. The Grundy tree was in the light outside. The zombie within slept soundly, not knowing that the world's scariest gardener was watching over his cage. And in the dark corners of the city, the new moon floated by without making a sound, a reminder that even if the days were brilliant, the nights were still watching. The subject line of the email was short and to the point. Request for interview. Bruce Wayne sat in the Bloodhaven Clock Tower's makeshift war room, looking at the projected screen. He looked like a general plotting an assault on D-Day, but the enemy wasn't Darkseid. It was a Pulitzer Prize-winning writer who liked to find out secrets that millionaires wanted to keep secret. Bruce's voice made it clear that there was no way to say no. Naruto Uzumaki was doing crunches while hanging upside down from the rafters. He wasn't holding on to anything, he was using chakra to keep his feet on the wood. Why not? Naruto asked as he swung up. I have a lot to do. I have to patrol the city, water a zombie tree, and go on a date with Diana to watch a documentary about penguins. Because, Bruce said, turning around and pulling off his cowl to show his sleepy eyes. The story is changing. Yes, people are thankful, but they are also scared. You made a moon, grew a magical forest, and turned a team of supervillains into pizza-eating pacifists. People don't know what you are. Naruto said, I'm a ninja, and then he fell to the floor. Bruce said, they think you're a god. In this world, people either worship or fear gods. If you don't tell your own story, someone else will. Lex Luthor is already writing an op-ed calling you an extraterrestrial biological weapon. You need to talk. And you need to talk to Lois. Naruto sighed and scratched the back of his skull. Isn't she Clark's wife? The scary one? Bruce said. She looked Doomsday in the eye. She's scary, but she's fair. She won't write a hit piece. She wants the truth. Bruce, the truth is hard to understand. Then make it easier, Bruce said as he flung a black t-shirt at him. The shirt was from Wayne Enterprises, fit well, and was straightforward. No orange. No tracksuits. You have to look human and weak. Naruto got the shirt. You really are my boss. Bruce growled, I'm your handler. There's a difference. A manager means I get paid, while a handler means I'm fixing things. Central Park in Bloodhaven, the Grundy Tree, 11 a.m. Lois Lane had talked to Superman when he was hovering in the stratosphere. She had talked to Batman in a dark alley, but he didn't answer. He simply glared. She had talked to Lex Luthor in his penthouse, where he discreetly threatened to buy the publication she worked for. But this was different. She was sitting on a park bench made of recycled plastic, and her digital recorder was on. The background seemed strange. The Grundy tree cast a shadow over them. Its metallic bark sparkled in the sun, and its purple blossoms dropped sparkling pollen that smelled like vanilla. Naruto Uzumaki was sitting across from her. He seemed young. That was the first note she wrote. The subject looks like he's in his early 20s. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and birthmarks on the cheeks that look like whiskers. The posture is relaxed, almost slouching. He didn't have the strong, powerful presence of Superman. He wasn't as scary as Batman. He looked like a college student who had just gotten out of bed, but he was a college student who may accidentally blow up the solar system. Naruto leaned forward and poked the recorder, asking, is it on? Does it hear my voice okay? Sometimes I have trouble with resonance frequency. Lois smiled and said, it's on, her professional mask firmly in place. Thanks for agreeing to this, Naruto. Is it okay if I call you Naruto, or do you like the ghost better? Naruto is fine, he murmured, reclining back and putting his hands behind his head. Ghost makes me sound dead, but I'm very much alive. Just ask the toaster. Lois blinked. The toaster? Forget it. It's a long story. Lois looked over her notes. Let's start with the obvious. You came to Bloodhaven about 2 years ago, and since then, the crime rate has dropped to zero. You have fought off an alien invasion, built a satellite object, and changed the landscape of a city block. The world wants to know, what are you? Are you a meta-human? An alien? A magic user? Naruto stared at the Grundy tree. He saw a butterfly land on a leaf. Naruto whispered softly, I'm a traveler. From a different planet? From another. Chance, Naruto said to correct himself. We didn't have superheroes where I lived. We had soldiers, wars, and kids fighting for villages. Lois leaned in. This was different. You were a soldier? Naruto said, I was a weapon, and his blue eyes got a little darker. Like the bombs you have here, but I didn't want to be a weapon. I wanted to be a Hokage, a leader, a protector, Lois said. Naruto said, yeah, but it's hard to protect, you have to make choices. Here, I have power I never thought I'd have back home. The sentry power. It's like having the sun in your veins. It makes everything weak. Lois remarked, is that why you chose Bloodhaven? Because it was broken? Naruto responded, because it was ignored. Gotham has Batman. Metropolis has Superman. Central City has Flash. But Bloodhaven? It was just rotting. It reminded me of home. Of the places people forgot. Lois wrote down a lot of things quickly. Trauma-based altruism. A classic hero type, but with a particular sense of humility. Lois changed the subject and remarked, let's talk about the moon. You built a prison in space. Critics say you've broken international law. They say you've made yourself the judge, jury, and jailer. What gives you the right? Naruto laughed. It wasn't a chuckle that made fun of someone. It was a laugh that sounded exhausted. Naruto said, I didn't do it because I have the right. I did it because the other option was to let a shadow vampire eat the eastern seaboard. Sometimes, Lois, you can't check the rules, you just have to catch the ball. And what about the thing inside? Lois asked, is it still alive? Naruto said, it's sleeping. It's safe. I check on it every hour, in my head. Most of the time, it's dreaming about static. Lois stopped. She truly glanced at him. She could see the tiredness beneath the smile. You check on it every hour, she said again. Do you sleep? Naruto shrugged and said, I nap, between heartbeats. Being fast helps. I can get 8 hours of sleep in 8 seconds if I speed up my mind. But, yeah, I'm tired. Lois asked, why not ask for help? The League of Justice. Naruto stated, the League is great. Clark is great. Diana is everything. But this city, it's my garden. If I don't weed it, the weeds come back. Lois felt a twinge of pity. She recognized that look. Clark had the same look when he held up a bridge that was about to fall. The world's weight. One last question, Lois remarked, her tone softening. There are rumors. About you and Wonder Woman. Naruto's face became blazing red. The whisker marks appeared to twitch. No comment? He squealed. Lois giggled and closed her notebook. Off the record? Naruto smiled, a real, bright smile that made him appear like the sun personified. She keeps me sane, Naruto muttered, when the power gets too loud. She's the quiet place. The disruption the interview concluded well. Naruto offered to purchase Lois a hot dog from a seller who, surprisingly, had not been thrown into the air by a tree previously. As they stood beside the cart, Lois spreading mustard on her bun, the air altered. It wasn't a noise, it was a feeling. The hair on Naruto's arms stood up. The chakra in his gut, the 10 tails, grew low and deep. Naruto, Kurama cautioned. Space-time distortion, Sector 4. Directly overhead. Naruto dropped his hot dog. Lois, get behind me, Naruto instructed. His voice shifted. The silly youngster was gone. The soldier was back. What is it? Lois inquired, seeing the shift. She instinctively grabbed her phone to call Clark. Put that away, Naruto replied without looking back. It's not an invasion. It's a tear. Above the park, the sky shattered. It did not open like a boom tube, swirl, or a zeta beam, flash. It shattered like glass. A black, jagged rift emerged in the blue sky, releasing a purple, chaotic force. The wind grew stronger, roaring with an unnatural sound. It was a frequency. A distinct and rhythmic vibration. Chirp. 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 Birds? Lois frowned, shading her eyes from the sudden gale. It sounds like birds. No, Naruto said softly, his eyes widening. It sounds like lightning. Something dropped from the rift. It was not a bomb. It was not a monster. It was a bird. A hawk. The bird dropped from the sky, its wings torn and burned. It slid downward, heading right for the park. Naruto moved. He did not employ the sentry speed. He used the body flicker. Shunshin. He captured the hawk inches from the ground and cradled it in his palms. He landed lightly, the grass bending beneath him. The hawk was big, with brown feathers and a sharp, intelligent eye. But it was dying. The stress of traversing realms had damaged its chakra network, rendering it inoperable. A summoning animal, Naruto understood, his hands glowing green from medicinal chakra. From back home. Lois dashed over, camera ready. Is that a hawk? It's a messenger, Naruto said coldly. He noticed the scroll tied around the hawk's leg. The paper was singed and brittle. The seal on the scroll was one he recognized better than his own name. Uchiha fan. Sasuke, Naruto gasped. He did not open the scroll immediately. He concentrated on the bird, directing yang chakra into its little body. Don't die on me, Naruto shouted. You made it this far. Don't you dare die. The hawk shrieked weakly, its heart has stabilized. It gazed at Naruto and nipped his finger with fondness. Is it a friend? Lois inquired, capturing the scene. The godlike hero rescued a dying bird as the heavens burst up above him. A friend, Naruto answered, glancing at the scroll. And a rival. And a pain in the ass. He untied the scroll. The seal exploded with a small explosion of smoke. He unrolled the paper. The message was short. It was scribbled hastily, with ink splashed as if in the midst of a struggle. Do not come back. They found the coordinates. The Otsutsuki king is awake. Naruto was staring at the paper. The fissure in the sky groaned. It attempted to widen. A large, pale hand grasped the borders of the reality rift, attempting to pull it open wider. Oh no, you don't, Naruto snapped. He handed the hawk to Lois. Hold him. Don't let him fly. Naruto, what is going on? Lois inquired, her journalistic composure slipping. My past is trying to crash the party, Naruto stated. He launched himself into the air. He did not simply fly. He exploded aloft. The golden chakra cloak burst, producing a nine-tails avatar around him. Kurama! Naruto exclaimed. On it, Naruto finally made it to the rift. The pale hand, massive, white-skinned, with eyeballs embedded in its palms, was ripping the sky apart. Naruto did not attack the hand. He launched an attack on the rift. Planetary Rasengan. Space-time seal. He threw a large, spinning sphere of chakra right into the tear. But instead of attacking, the Rasengan whirled in reverse. It acted like a suture. He used the sentry's molecular manipulation to sew the boundaries of reality back together, aided by the Uzumaki clan's sealing power. Get out! Naruto exclaimed. He kicked the pallid hand. Crack! The hand retreated, reeling from the combined power of a tailed beast bomb and a sentry punch. Naruto pushed the Rasengan into the hole. The rift shrieked. It shrank. It collapsed. With a final pop, the sky was repaired. The blue has returned. The wind died. Naruto hung there for a time, his chest heaving. He felt the area where the hole had been. It felt heated to the touch. He drifted back down to the park. Lois was holding the hawk and looked at him. The audience in the park was quiet. That, Lois continued, her voice wavering slightly, was not in the press release. Naruto returned the hawk gently. He looked at the scroll again. Don't come back. He thinks he can protect me, Naruto said softly, a sad smile on his lips. Idiot. Naruto? Lois inquired. Who was that? Naruto looked at the camera. He looked at Lois. He knew this would be televised over the world. To Batman. To Diana. To Waller. That, Naruto replied, his voice as tough as steel, was a warning. The war one left behind? It just found me. The Batcave Gotham City Batman froze the image on the large monitor. The image portrayed a ghostly hand stretching through the sky. Zoom in, Batman instructed. Alfred enhanced the image. Sir, Alfred remarked. The hand, it has eyes in the palms. And the skin structure, it matches the cellular data we have on Master Naruto's God Tree. Otsutsuki, Batman said the term. Naruto mentioned them during his debriefings. Celestial parasites. Planet eaters. If they're here, Bruce jumped up, scraping his chair against the floor. Then Darkseid is the least of our problems. The apartment that night Naruto sat on the balcony, the hawk napping on a perch made of wood. Diana stood behind him with her arms on his shoulders. Sasuke? She inquired quietly. Yeah, Naruto replied. He's alive. He's fighting. He's telling me to stay away. Will you? Naruto gazed at the shadow moon overhead. He stared at the city lights of Bloodhaven. I can't leave, Naruto stated. I'm the anchor here. If I go to help him, I leave Earth defenseless. But if you stay, they will come here, Diana said. The king, Naruto mumbled. Sasuke mentioned a king. Kaguya was a princess. Usually, kings are worse. He turned to face her. I need to get stronger, Diana. You're the strongest being on the planet, she told him. Not enough, Naruto said, shaking his head, to fight an Otsutsuki king. I need to master the one thing I've been ignoring. What? Magic, Naruto said. Chakra is great. Atoms are great. But these guys? They eat chakra. They rewrite atoms. I need something they can't eat. I need to call Constantine. Diana sighed and rested her forehead against his. I'll get the salt. Deep space sector unknown. The breach had closed, but the aroma lingered. A gigantic ship sailed through the stars, composed entirely of pure white stone rather than metal or biological. On the throne sat a figure dressed in white robes. He had pale skin, 2 horns curving from his head, and 3 eyes. 2 Byakugan and 1 golden Rinnegan on his forehead. He gazed at his hand. It was bruised. Interesting, the Otsutsuki king said. The fox has found a new den, and he has learned new tricks. He stood up. The stars appeared to darken in his presence. Set a course, he told his subordinates. We go to this Earth. It is time for the harvest. The House of Mystery had no set address. It was sometimes a Victorian home in London, and other times a hut in the Kentucky Bayou. Today, because John Constantine was particularly irritated by the cold weather, it was disguised as a derelict frat house in Miami. Naruto stood on the doorstep, dressed in a magical mystery tour t-shirt that Diana had purchased him as a joke. He raised his hand to knock. The door swung open before his knuckles came into touch. We don't want any Girl Scout cookies, Constantine's voice rang out from the dark corridor. And we definitely don't want any solar-powered ninja gods selling salvation. I brought cigarettes, Naruto explained, holding out a box of silk cut. The duty-free kind from the airport. A phantom hand emerged from the darkness, grabbed the carton, and vanished. Come in, Constantine muttered. Don't touch the gargoyle. He bites. The parlor, the interior of the house, was a geometric mess. The corridor continued indefinitely in both directions, and the staircase appeared to head straight into a painting of a stormy sea. In the parlor, John Constantine sat in a velvet armchair that appeared to have survived a fire. Zatanna Zatara sat across from him, dressed impeccably as a stage magician and shuffling a deck of tarot cards that hovered in the air. So, Constantine started a cigarette, and the smoke curled into the shape of a skull. The kid wants to learn tricks. Batman told us. Said you got a nasty gram from your old neighborhood. Otsutsuki, Naruto muttered, resting on a sofa that moaned beneath his weight. They eat chakra. They absorb energy. If I throw a Rasengan at them, they just get stronger. If I punch them, they absorb the kinetic force. They're the ultimate counter to. Well, me. And you think magic is the answer? Zatanna asked, flipping a card. It was the fool. She smiled. Fitting. Magic isn't energy, Naruto claimed. You said it yourself, John. It's a transaction. It's chaos. If they try to absorb chaos, maybe it'll give them indigestion. It'll do more than that, Constantine said, grinning dangerously. If a creature of pure order tries to eat raw chaos magic, it's like trying to drink a blender while it's running. It shreds the spiritual stomach lining. But there's a problem, Zatanna explained. She snaps her fingers. Eldnak. Candle. A candle on the table with a purple flame. That was magic, Zatanna said. I asked the universe for fire, and I paid for it with a bit of willpower. Now you try. Naruto concentrated on the unlit candle next to it. Okay. Fire. Whoosh. An enormous column of golden flame erupted from the candle, searing the ceiling and raising Constantine's brow. Chakra. Zatanna coughed, raising her hand to clear the smoke. Earf. Free and clear. The smoke disappeared. I didn't mean to. Naruto defended himself. I just pushed. That's the problem, Constantine said as he wiped soot off his cheeks. You're a nuclear reactor, kid. You don't know how to ask. You only know how to command. Chakra is internal, you make it. You shape it. Magic is external. You borrow it, you beg for it. And right now, you're screaming so loud the universe can't hear you asking. So how do I stop screaming? You have to empty the cup, Constantine replied, rising. You have to turn off the reactor. If I turn off the chakra, Naruto paused. I'm just normal. Exactly, Constantine said with a chuckle. Scary, isn't it? The training room devoid of silence. Constantine led them to a basement door. He opened it to see a room of complete nothingness. White floors, white walls, no sound, no odor. This is the null chamber, Constantine stated. It dampens energy fields. In here, your connection to the 10 tails, the sentry power, the nature energy. It's all muffled. You're just Naruto. Naruto stepped inside. He immediately felt heavy. The steady hum of electricity that he had been accustomed to for years vanished. The voices of the city vanished. He felt little, vulnerable. Okay, Zatanna said, walking in with him. She put a basic wooden block on the floor. The spell is simple. It's a transmutation spell. Turn this wood into stone. How? Don't use your energy, Zatanna said. Feel the wood. Feel the stone in the earth beneath the floor. Create a bridge between them. Convince the wood that it wants to be stone. Naruto stared at the block. Be stone, he reasoned. Be stone. Be stone. Nothing occurred. He attempted to insert a small chakra inside it. ZZZT. A crimson rune on the wall flashed, and Naruto received a severe electric shock. No cheating, Constantine cried through the doorway. Use the transaction. Offer something. Offer what? Naruto asked. I don't have anything. Offer a memory. Constantine suggested. Offer a sensation. Offer the taste of that bagel you ate this morning. Naruto closed his eyes. He thought about the bagel. The crunch of seeds. Cream cheese. I'll give you a taste of the bagel, Naruto thought, feeling silly. Please turn into a rock. He felt a strange tug in his chest. Not from his stomach, but from somewhere. A slippery and cold sensation. Pop. The wooden block did not turn to stone. It transformed into a bagel. A stone bagel. Zatanna clapped. Close enough. You transmuted the concept, not just the material. That's actually very advanced chaos magic. Naruto picked up the stone bagel. It was heavy. I've lost the taste, Naruto realized as he licked his lips. I can't remember what the bagel tasted like. That was the price, Constantine stated, leaning against the doorframe. You paid with a memory. Welcome to the grift, kid. Naruto gazed at the stone bagel. It terrified him. Chakras require stamina. You might sleep it off. Magic takes pieces of you. If I use this against the Otsutsuki, Naruto muttered. What do I have to pay to kill a king? Constantine's face turned black. That's the question, isn't it? And if you're not willing to pay the price, the spell will take it anyway. Usually from the person standing next to you. Naruto dropped the stone bagel. He thought about Diana. I need to get better, Naruto replied, his gaze narrowing. I need to learn how to pay with things I don't care about. Like what? Like my pain, Naruto explained. I have plenty of that. The Bat Cave, Gotham City. While Naruto was mastering the art of the bargain, Batman was dealing with a bird. The hawk Naruto had rescued was kept in a cage in the analysis lab. It was awake and consuming a piece of high-quality synthetic protein. The bird's chakra network is recovering, Alfred observed. But the scroll. There is more to it. Bruce Wayne wore white gloves as he studied the singed paper through a microscope. The ink contains a biological component, Bruce explained. Blood. Uchiha blood, and, he adjusted the lens. Binary code. Microscopic dots might be found hidden within the kanji brushstrokes. It wasn't just a letter, but a data dump. Alfred, run this through the translation algorithm. Cross-reference with the dimensional data from the Unity box. The computer word. A holographic map appeared. It was not a map of the Earth, it was a map of the multiverse. A red line traced a course from another realm, passing through black holes and nebulae before arriving at Earth. This is the path the Otsutsuki are taking, Bruce realized. Sasuke didn't just warn us, he tagged them. The computer beeped. ETA. 48 hours. They're faster than we thought, Bruce said, standing up. Get the Justice League. And someone tell Naruto to hurry up with his magic tricks. We're running out of time. The House of Mystery 6 hours later. The Null Chamber was a disaster. There were stone bagels, floating feathers, a mound of ash that used to be a chair, and a bewildered penguin waddling in the corner. Naruto was sweating. He appeared fatigued, like he hadn't since the Fourth Great Ninja War. Again, Constantine instructed. Naruto lamented, I've run out of breakfast memories. Then use emotions, Constantine instructed. Use frustration. Use that annoyance you feel when Flash steals your fries. Channel it. Naruto focused on the target, a simple glass of water. The goal is to boil it, without fire style, without chakra heat. Naruto concentrated. He pondered about Otsutsuki. He imagined the pale hand shredding the sky. He considered the threat to Bloodhaven, frustration, fear, anger. He did not push it out, he offered it up. Take this anger, he instructed the universe. Give me heat. The air in the room became heavier. Shadows moved across the walls, making jagged, laughing forms. The water in the glass did not boil. It yelled. The liquid emitted a high-pitched teakettle screech. Then it instantly turned into steam, not white steam, but red steam. LEOB. Zatanna exclaimed, casting a counter spell to contain the red cloud. What was that? Naruto asked, stepping back. That, Constantine smirked, flicking ash onto the floor, was hellfire. You tapped into a lower dimension. You traded anger for demonic heat. Sloppy, dangerous, and very effective. I don't want to use hellfire, Naruto explained. I'm the Golden Guardian. I use the sun. The sun is physics, Constantine asserted. Physics can be rewritten. Hellfire? That's spiritual. The Otsutsuki can't rewrite a demon, Naruto. They can't absorb a curse. Naruto gazed at his hands. They trembled. So I have to become a monster to beat them? No, Zatanna intervened, placing a hand on his arm. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty. Magic is about intent. If you use hellfire to protect the innocent, it's a shield. If you use it to burn, it's a weapon. You decide. Naruto took a big breath. He thought about Kurama. He recalled the acceptance he had found with the fox. Okay, Naruto replied. Teach me a curse, a big one. Deep space, the edge of the solar system, the white stone ship floated past Pluto. The king did not stand on the prow, it was the vanguard. Urashiki Otsutsuki twisted his crimson fishing pole and smiled at the blue marble in the distance. So full of life, Urashiki laughed. The chakra fruit from this harvest will be exquisite. He tapped his scouter, a device similar to Vegeta's but biological. A spike in chaos data? Urashiki asked, frowning. Strange. The natives are using a frequency I cannot analyze. It tastes spicy. Ignore it, the king's voice echoed from inside. It is primitive. Go, Urashiki. Test the vessel. See if the fox is ripe. Urashiki bowed. As you wish, sire. He jumped from the ship. He did not use a pod. He simply descended toward Earth, rushing to light speed, his fishing hook trailing behind him, ready to capture the soul of a god. Bloodhaven, the apartment Naruto returned home. He felt strange. Less shiny. Diana waited for him. She carried the hawk on her shoulder. Bruce called, she explained bitterly. 48 hours. I know, Naruto replied. He approached the window. The shadow moon hovered in the sky. Did you learn it? Diana inquired. I learned how to cheat, Naruto explained. He raised his hand. A little blue flame flared on his fingertip. It was not chakra. It was frigid. It was sad. He had made a transaction for the memory of his first loneliness. It costs me, Naruto murmured. Every time I use it, I lose a little piece of the happy memories. Just the small ones. The taste of ramen. The smell of rain. Diana approached and threw her arms around him from behind. Then we will make new ones, she vowed vehemently. We will eat ramen every day. We will dance in every rainstorm. I will fill you up faster than the magic can drain you. Naruto smiled. He quenched the flame. Deal. He looked to the sky. Come on, Urashiki. Or Momoshiki. Or whoever you are. Naruto's gaze moved. One blue. One purple. Deep within the pupil, a tiny, mystical symbol glowed crimson. Come and take a bite. Bloodhaven's night air was frequently filled with the distant buzz of the city, a symphony of traffic, ocean waves, and a million people's heartbeats. But tonight, the air in the penthouse apartment was silent. The vacuum was holding its breath. Naruto sat on the balcony floor, with his back against the railing. The bird, the messenger from a life he believed he had left behind, sat on his knee. Its breathing was feeble, rattling in its little chest. Diana remained in the doorway, observing him. She did not speak. She understood the weight of waiting for a soldier to return home. She'd waited for Steve Trevor once. She recognized the sight in Naruto's eyes, a forlorn, pleading hope that the cosmos would not be unkind again. It's time, Naruto said quietly to the bird. He chewed his thumb. A small amount of blood welled up. Reverse summoning. Destination. Here. He put his thumb to the seal on the scroll that the hawk had carried. Poof. An enormous cloud of white smoke rose from the balcony, smelled like ozone, burnt flesh, and iron. Naruto rose up, a grin already appearing on his face. He was ready to yell, call Sasuke a jerk for taking so long, heal him, and then smack him in the shoulder. Took you long enough, Uteme, the smoke has cleared. Naruto's voice stopped in his throat. The grin did not fade. Rather, it cracked, shattering apart like glass beneath a hammer. Sasuke Uchiha was present, but he was not standing. He lay on the concrete. His cloak, originally black, was ripped and stained a dark, wet scarlet. His sword, the Kusanagi, had been split in half, leaving the blade a few inches from his hand. The silence, however, was the loudest. Sasuke, the man who was usually ready with a reply, a scheme, or a stinging remark, was completely silent and terrifying. Naruto dropped to his knees. He moved at a tempo that defied the sentry's authority, a desperate human scrabble. Sasuke. He grasped Sasuke's shoulders. They were cold. Not the chill of the night air. The chill of an empty room. Naruto placed his flaming palm on Sasuke's chest. He poured yang chakra, life force with the ability to heal lungs, restore teeth, and transform zombies into trees, into his friend's body. Come on, Naruto said softly, his voice wavering, come on. I healed a shark yesterday. I fixed a toaster. Don't do this. The chakra flowed through Sasuke's body. It illuminated the harm. His chakra network was not only emptied, but also ripped. I'm burned out. He had not simply fought, he had used his own life force as fuel. There was no heart to restart. There was no spark to create a flame. Sasuke Uchiha has died. No, Naruto replied. He shook the body. No, wake up. Stop playing around, Sasuke, it's not funny. Diana walked onto the balcony. She saw the body. She noticed the broken sword. She observed Naruto putting enough energy to light a star into a vessel that could no longer contain it. She knelt near him. She placed her hand over his, interrupting the flow of energy. Naruto, she said gently. He's gone. He can't be gone. Naruto exclaimed, his voice cracking. His eyes welled up with hot, angry tears. He's the strongest ninja alive. He has the Rinnegan, he promised. He grabbed Sasuke by the collar and pulled the frigid body against his chest. He put his face in the cloak that was covered in blood. Naruto cried into the fabric, "You promised. You said you'd protect the shadows, you idiot. You complete idiot." Naruto's crying was the only sound for a long time. The Golden Guardian, the ghost of Bloodhaven, the man who kept the universe together, fell apart on his own balcony. The hawk shrieked after that. It jumped up onto Sasuke's chest. It pecked at his left eye, which was closed. Naruto peered up, but he couldn't see clearly. He leaned out and carefully opened Sasuke's eye. The Rinnegan was no longer there. The socket was empty and burned. There was a tiny, fading pulse of chakra in his right eye, the Sharingan. A delay that was set up. Turn on the transcription seal. A holographic picture came from the dead eye. It was blurry and red and black, and it flickered. It hung in the air between Naruto and Diana. Sasuke was the one. In the projection, he seemed younger, or maybe simply less stressed. He was sitting against a white stone wall and bleeding. The hologram said, "Naruto." He spoke in a calm voice, even though he must have been in a lot of agony. Naruto looked at the ghost of his friend, Sasuke. "Urashiki didn't get my body if you can see this. That means the hawk did." "Good." In the recording, Sasuke coughed and wiped blood off his lip. "I don't have much time. The king, Ashiki, he's awake. He's coming. I destroyed their navigation markers, but they tracked my chakra signature. I led them away from the elemental nations. I led them to you." Naruto made fists. "You used yourself as bait?" Sasuke went on, "I didn't have a choice. They eat worlds, Naruto. If they found Konoha, there would be nothing left, but you have a power now that makes things happen that shouldn't happen. You are the only one who can stop them." The hologram blinked. Sasuke peered straight into the camera, and his black eyes seemed to see through time and death. "I'm sorry I couldn't be there to see your city. I bet it's orange and loud." Sasuke's lips curled into a small, uncommon smile. "Naruto, you were always the better shinobi. Don't let them take your home. Protect it like you protected me." The picture shook. "And Naruto, happy birthday, you loser." The light went off. The hologram disappeared. Naruto sat quietly. Naruto murmured, "It's not my birthday." His voice was empty. "It's not until October." He gazed at Sasuke's face. The calmness in it. The end of it. He felt something moving in his stomach. The 10 tails wasn't making any noise. It was sad. The sentry power wasn't flashing. It was chilly, but something else was coming to life. The magic of chaos. Constantine had remarked that magic was a deal. Pain for strength. A part of your soul for a change in the cosmos. Naruto glanced at his brother's dead body. He was in so much anguish that it felt like it would never end. The universe whispered, "Transaction." "Well," a voice from the skies laughed. "That is a touching reunion." I almost cried. Naruto didn't look up. Diana stood up right away, drew her sword, and looked up into the sky. A pale man was floating above the balcony with a fishing pole that glowed red. He had 2 curving horns, wore white robes, and a smile that was too big. Otsutsuki Urashiki. Urashiki looked down at Sasuke's body and said, "I have to say." He was persistent. He ran for 3 galaxies. I hooked him twice, stole half of his chakra, and he still managed to hide his eye before he died. Annoying little bug. Urashiki looked at Naruto, "And you must be the fox. The vessel. My king wants you, alive, if possible, but you look a little broken." Naruto carefully put Sasuke back down on the concrete. He stretched out and closed his friend's right eye. "Diana," Naruto said. His voice was quite flat and scary. "Bring him inside." "Naruto," Diana said, pointing her blade toward the alien. "Don't use chakra on him. He drains energy." Naruto said, "I know." He got up. He didn't shine. There was no cloak of gold. No orbs for truth seekers. He was just standing there with his t-shirt and jeans. "Bring Sasuke inside, Diana." Diana thought about it for a second, then nodded. She picked up Sasuke's body, which felt like nothing to her, and went back into the apartment. So, Urashiki glided down lower and licked his lips. Are you going to cry or give up? I can smell the fruit inside you. It smells ripe. Naruto stared at Urashiki. You killed him. Urashiki said, I harvested him. There is a difference. Killing means being mean. Harvesting is just lunch. He swung his fishing pole. The red hook, which was comprised of hardened chakra, flew at Naruto. It was made to get through bodily defenses and tear the spirit out of the body. Yoink. Urashiki chuckled. Naruto's chest was smacked by the hook. It got through. Urashiki pulled back, thinking he could draw out a huge ball of Nine Tails chakra. The queue got tight. Naruto stayed still. There was nothing coming out of the hook that was stuck in his chest. Eh? Urashiki frowned. He pulled harder. Let go, vessel. Give me the chakra. Naruto took the fishing line with his bare hands. Naruto asked, do you want to trade? He opened his eyes. They weren't blue. They weren't red. They weren't purple. They were black. Holes of complete absence. What is this? Urashiki said in shock. He felt a cold go up the line. It wasn't chakra. It was something different. Something from the past. Something out of control. Magic, Naruto said softly. The law of exchange. He gazed at the place where Sasuke had been. He thought about the blood. He thought of the sword that was broken. He thought about how quiet it was. He took all of that pain, the screaming agony in his heart, and put it on the table. Naruto told the universe, I give you my grief. I give you the empty space in my heart where my brother used to be. The universe took the money, and what do you get in return? Naruto said, I'll take your life. A black fire shot out of Naruto's palm and up the fishing line. Amaterasu wasn't it? It didn't get hot, it torched the idea. Ah! Urashiki yelled. He tried to let go of the rod, but his hand was stuck to it. The black heat assaulted him. It didn't hurt his skin. It hurt his chakra. It filled his reservoirs with the emotional weight of losing Naruto. And Otsutsuki, a creature of cold reasoning and consumption, felt the raw, unfiltered pain of human grief like drinking poison. What is this? Urashiki screamed, scratching his own chest. Why does it hurt? Naruto remarked, that's his pain, and walked up to him. He stepped into the sky. He didn't fly. The air turned solid beneath his boots because it was scared. He walked over to the extraterrestrial that was floating. Urashiki hid back. He opened his Rinnegan to try to take in the onslaught. Realm of the hungry ghosts. He sought to pull in the black fire. Naruto said, not a good idea. Urashiki took in the magic. He opened his eyes wide. His skin, which was white, turned gray. He started to cry. His face was covered in black tears. So much. Urashiki cried, holding his head. He felt so much betrayal, loneliness, and pain. Why? Why would you carry this? Naruto said, that's what it means to be human. He reached out and put his palm on Urashiki's head. And you don't have what it takes. Curse. The weight of the world. Naruto let the whole deal happen. He poured all of his pain and suffering, being alone as a child, the wars, losing Jiraiya, losing Neji, and now losing Sasuke, directly into Urashiki's soul. The Otsutsuki's mentality broke. Stop it, Urashiki yelled, scratching his own face. I don't want it, I don't want the harvest, give it back. Naruto responded, no returns, in a chilly voice. The shape of Urashiki changed. The magic, which came from the Ten Tails' endless power source but was formed by Naruto's endless sadness, tore the alien apart at the spiritual level. He didn't blow up. He fell apart. He became ash. Not real ash, but gray, crying dust that blew away in the wind. The fishing pole collapsed and made a noise as it hit the balcony. Naruto was alone in the sky. The dark flames on his hands went out. His eyes went back to blue, but they were dull and dead. He drifted back down to the balcony. He stared at the fishing pole. He kicked it away. He went into the flat. Diana put Sasuke on the couch. She had wiped the blood off his face and put a white sheet over him, leaving only his head visible. He stepped over to Naruto. He dropped on his knees next to the couch. The rush of adrenaline wore off. The magic went away. It was done with the transaction. The enemy was dead. But Sasuke was still dead. People couldn't come back with magic. That was the only rule that Constantine had made clear. You can exchange for anything, kid, except for life. Life is a road that only goes one way. Naruto put his head on Sasuke's cool hand to rest. You win, Naruto said in a broken voice. Sasuke, you win. I'm the loser. He shut his eyes, and for the first time since arriving in this world, the ghost of Bloodhaven didn't look like a hero. He looked like a youngster who had lost the only person who knew him well. Naruto assured the silence, I'll protect it. I'll protect this world, even if I have to set fire to everything else to do it. The shadow moon hung heavy in the sky, like a gravestone for a friendship that crossed dimensions. The Otsutsuki king opened his eyes in the dark of space and felt the death of his vanguard. The harvest has begun. And the fox was crazy. The sunrise over Bloodhaven was always a beautiful sight, with pink and orange light bouncing off the glass towers and the choppy ocean. Today, the colors seemed dull, as if the sun didn't want to break the peace of the penthouse apartment. Naruto was still on the floor. He sat with his legs crossed next to the couch where Sasuke's body was, with his head down and his hands on his knees. He was no longer crying. The weeping had ended hours ago, and now there was just an empty, painful numbness. The door opened slowly. Diana wasn't there. She had been on the balcony all night, keeping an eye on the sky for additional portals. Bruce was the one. Batman didn't wear the mask. He stepped into the room dressed in black as Bruce Wayne. He had a thick casing with lead lining. He halted a few steps away from the couch. He gazed at the body that was covered by the white sheet. He could see the ragged, blood-soaked coat poking out from under it. He noticed the sword that was shattered on the coffee table. Bruce murmured softly, Alfred is getting the jet ready. If you want to take him somewhere else, a remote place, the Fortress of Solitude has a crypt. No, Naruto said in a hoarse voice. He hated the cold. Naruto slowly got up. His joints made a popping sound. He seemed older. The sunlight atmosphere that used to make him so lively was gone. Naruto looked down at the sheet and muttered, he was a wanderer. He never stayed in one place for long. He called it atonement. He thought that if he kept moving, he could outrun his sins. Bruce said, he died a soldier. I looked at the tactical data from the scroll. He led them through 3 galaxies, destroyed their navigation beacons, and fought an entire army to keep them out of this sector. He didn't die running, Naruto. He died protecting. Naruto's jaw was tight. He died by himself. He bent down and picked up the sword that was broken. The hilt was worn down, and the leather grip was stained with perspiration and old blood. It was only metal. Cold, lifeless metal. Naruto thought, he needs to see. He liked high places all the time. The Bloodhaven cliffs point north. It was a rugged cliff that looked out over the Atlantic Ocean, miles from the city itself. The wind blew the seagrass around, and the waves hit the rocks 200 feet below. It was empty, wild, and silent. There was the Justice League. They stood in a half-circle to give Naruto room. Aquaman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. Even though they were in uniform, the mood was sad. They didn't know the man in the white shroud, but they did know the man who was sad about him. Naruto was near the edge of the cliff. He had Sasuke's body in his arms. It appeared easy, but everyone could tell that the weight he was carrying wasn't real. He got down on one knee. He put Sasuke on the ground. Naruto murmured, Earth style. Bedrock coffin. The ground under Sasuke became softer and then sank. The stone came up around him, making a flawless, smooth granite coffin. It closed with a loud, weighty thump. Naruto put his hand on the stone cover. Naruto said, I can't put the Uchiha crest on it. If I do, enemies might find it. They might try to. Take him. He bit his lip. So you stay anonymous, Teme. You're just another rock on a cliff. He stood up and made a seal with one hand. Wood style. Great tree. At the top of the stone grave, a small tree broke through the dirt. It grew quickly, twisting and thickening until it became a single, gnarled cherry tree. It wasn't in full bloom. It was barren, and its branches seemed like bony fingers reaching out to the gray sky. Naruto said, "It'll bloom when it's ready." He went to the lead. Superman moved forward. "I'm sorry, Naruto. If we had known." Naruto responded, "You couldn't have known." He made sure of that. He was the Shadow Hokage, and he worked in the dark so that the village could stay in the light. Naruto glanced at them, the world's greatest heroes. Naruto said, "He wasn't like us. He didn't save cats or wave to the cameras. He did the hard work and made the choices that kept him up at night so he could sleep." Naruto took the broken hilt of the Kusanagi blade out of his pocket. "He gave me this." Hal Jordan said softly, "It's broken." Naruto gazed at the hilt and said, "Is it?" He shut his eyes. He reached out with the 6 paths chakra that Hagoromo had given him, not his own. The chakra that linked him to Sasuke. The chakra of Asura and Indra. He poured it into the handle. Hum. The air suddenly smelled like ozone. Barry Allen's arm hair stood up. A spark came from the fractured metal stub of the sword. Then another. Then, a stream of blue lightning shot out. Chidori. The lightning didn't spread out, it got smaller. It took form. It made a strong, crackling blade of pure electrical chakra that went all the way from the hilt to the tip of the sword. The light hurt my eyes. The noise was the sound of 1,000 birds screeching at the same time. Batman knew, hiding his eyes, that he put his chakra nature into the blade. Before he died, he put his lightning release into the metal. Naruto blinked. They reflected the blue light of the sword. Naruto murmured, "Indra's arrow. He didn't just leave me a warning. He left me his gun." He swung the sword. Slash. A bolt of lightning shot out of the blade, cutting through the air and hitting a thundercloud miles out at sea. There was a rift in the cloud. Naruto turned off the blade. The lightning went away, leaving only the broken hilt. He put it on his belt. Naruto's voice got harder as he replied, "He knew I would need it. Because the king is coming." The watchtower room for meetings, the service was over. The council for the war had begun. There was a holographic map of the solar system floating over the table. A red line, which showed the path of the Otsutsuki king, was going by Jupiter. Cyborg, Victor Stone, exclaimed, "He's fast," as he hooked into the console. Faster than the last ship. He's not drifting, he's warping space around him. In 12 hours, he'll be in Earth's orbit. What do we know about him? Wonder Woman said. Naruto said, "His name is Ashiki." He was sitting at the table in his orange and black tracksuit, but he had Sasuke's old, blood-stained headband looped over his arm. "He's Kaguya's partner. The one she betrayed. Is that Kaguya?" Superman asked. "The goddess of rabbits you told us about?" Naruto nodded and said, "Yeah. She was strong, but she was scared of him." "That should tell you everything." "Capabilities?" Batman asked. Naruto said, "He makes things smaller. Sukuna Hakona. He can shrink himself or anything that isn't alive right away. He can make spikes grow out of the ground that are so small that they can stab you. He can also keep things in a pocket dimension where time doesn't flow." Flash cautiously summed it up, "So he's Ant-Man with a god complex." Naruto said, "He's worse. He's stronger than me physically. He kicked Sasuke through a dimension in pure taijutsu, and Sasuke had the Rinnegan." There was no sound in the room. Aquaman inquired, "How do we fight him?" "If he can make our weapons smaller," Naruto said, "we don't use weapons. We use biology. Otsutsuki are parasites that live a long time but their vessels break down. Ashiki is here because he wants a vessel that can hold his power." "That's you," Batman said at the end. "Me," Naruto said. "Or someone with the same genetic potential." He stared at Superman. "People from Krypton," Naruto said. "Your DNA is thick and charged by the sun. He might try to take you, Clark." Superman put his arms across his chest. "Let him give it a shot." "No," Naruto said as he rose up. "We can't let him land. If he touches the ground, he'll plant a god tree. It will grow roots into the core and drain the planet's life energy to make a chakra fruit. In a week, Earth will be a dead rock." Hal asked, "So we fight him in space?" Naruto said, "We fight him before space. We catch him. I have a plan, but I need Constantine." "Constantine?" Diana frowned. "You want to use magic against a god of space?" Ashiki absorbs chakra, Naruto murmured, putting his hand on Sasuke's sword hilt. He can shrink things, but not curses or chaos. Batman inquired, what are we going to do? Naruto stared at the map. Naruto stated, we're going to do a heist. We're going to take his time. The House of Secrets this time, Constantine was having tea. He stared at Naruto, who was standing in the doorway with the League behind him. You look terrible, kid, Constantine said. You feel lighter, but also emptier. Naruto said, I paid the toll. Urashiki? Crime. Constantine whistled. You traded your sadness for death. That's risky, but it worked. What do you want now? Naruto remarked, I need a time dilation barrier. I need you to make a pocket of space where 1 second inside is an hour outside. Constantine's tea made him choke. Do I look like a green alien slug to you? You want me to make a hyperbolic time chamber? Are you able to do it? On that scale, Constantine said, rubbing his chin. I'd need a huge power source and a point of focus. Something that exists in more than one dimension at the same time. Naruto put his hand in his pocket. He took out a little, dark ball. It wasn't an orb that looked for the truth, it was the eye of Urashiki. The Rinnegan he had been able to save from the ashes before he left the balcony. Is this okay? Constantine looked at the eye. It was full of purple, wild energy that pulsed. An eye of a god, Constantine said with a smile that showed his fangs. Okay. Where do you want this wall to go? Naruto said, around the moon. My moon. The shadow moon. You want to catch the king in your trash moon? Naruto remarked, it's already a prison, I'm just making the security better. Room high Earth orbit. The white stone ship stopped warping. On the deck, Ashiki Otsutsuki stood. He was shorter than Kaguya and wore a white coat with a high collar. He also had a glass of red wine. His Byakugan was in his left eye. His right eye was a golden wheel with black triangles in it. It was a special dojutsu. He stared at Earth. Ashiki thought to himself, what a lovely garden. But full of bugs. He could feel the chakra left behind by Urashiki. It was weak and spread out. Dead, Ashiki said without feeling. Not strong. He looked around the planet. He found the fox. The chakra was so bright that it hurt to look at it. It was. Ashiki scowled and said, on the moon? He glanced at the moon in its natural state. Nothing. He gazed at the jagged moon that was orbiting close in a collection of asteroids. There. Naruto was standing on the shadow moon's surface, unmasked, and wearing his complete Kurama chakra cloak. He was showing off his might, almost yelling into the void. Get it, you pale freak? Naruto's voice echoed in his head. Ashiki drank his wine. Desperation, Ashiki said with a laugh. He wants to pull me away from the crowds. Noble, silly. Ashiki got off his ship. He shrank right away to the size of a speck of dust. He floated through space, not showing up on radar, and headed directly for the shadow moon. He touched down on the ground. He changed sizes. He was 20 feet away from Naruto. Fox. Ashiki replied in a calm voice. You've gotten fat from the energy of this world. Naruto responded, and you're on my property. He pulled out the broken hilt. Chidori. The lightning blade exploded. Ashiki said, Sasuke's lightning. So the other bug is dead. Too bad. I wanted his eye. Naruto responded, you're not taking anything else. I will take everything, Ashiki said as he stepped forward. Snap. A red symbol lit up under his foot as it reached the earth. Now, Constantine, Naruto yelled. In the House of Mystery on Earth, John Constantine slammed his fist down on Urashiki's eye, sending all of the ley line's magical energy into it. Lock Chronos. A wall of purple, chaotic magic burst forth around the shadow moon. It put the moon, Naruto, and Ashiki in a bubble of time that was out of whack. Ashiki stopped. He gazed at the wall. Ashiki figured it out. Time dilation. You caught us? Naruto smiled and said, I bought us time, even though sweat was already running down his face. We have a week in here. Outside, it's 1 second. The Justice League is getting ready. But in here, it's just you and me. Ashiki let out a sigh. He threw his glass of wine out. It got smaller and disappeared. Ashiki inquired respectfully, "Do you think you can make it through a week with me?" Naruto changed into his Six Paths Sage mode and remarked, "I don't have to survive." The Truth Seeker orbs showed up behind him. "I only have to make you bleed until you die." Ashiki's eye turned. "Very well," responded the king. "Let's start the lesson." The inside of the Chronos Lock 10 minutes have passed. The Shadow Moon was no longer a bunch of sharp asteroids. It was a cloud of dust. He wasn't flying, he was being juggled. Bang! A kick hit him in the ribs and sent him tumbling through a ridge of space rock that had been compressed. Ashiki Otsutsuki was there before he could get better. He shrank a huge stone pillar to the size of a toothpick, threw it, and then instantaneously made it bigger within Naruto's shoulder. Naruto gritted his teeth and pulled the stone pillar out of his shoulder. Golden chakra rushed in to repair the wound, but the healing was taking longer than usual. 10 minutes, Ashiki murmured, hovering above him with a clean white coat. "You've been fighting for 10 minutes. In the real world, not even a microsecond has passed. Your friends are still blinking." Naruto said, "I can do this all day," as blood dripped from his forehead into his eye. "You can't," Ashiki said. "Your sentry power is very strong. It can change matter, but I control the size of matter. You try to turn the air into lead, I make the lead disappear. You try to throw the sun at me, I put the sun in my pocket." Ashiki put his hand up. Black cubes, which were huge, heavy bricks from his world, suddenly materialized out of nowhere. Daikokaten. The cubes fell. They dropped with such force that they smashed the surface of the fake moon and flattened mountains. Naruto didn't move out of the way, he used the sentry speed. He moved through the falling cubes like a bolt of gold light. He pulled out Sasuke's broken sword, Indra's arrow in lightning style. He didn't fire it, he put it all over himself, he turned into a lightning bolt. He got closer, he swung the sword at Ashiki's neck. Ashiki didn't stop. He made himself smaller, nothing. The blade cut through nothing. Ashiki came back, standing on the flat of the blade, just a few inches from Naruto's face. "Too slow," Ashiki said in a whisper. He kicked Naruto in the face. The hit shattered the sound barrier inside the vacuum, which shouldn't have been possible, yet the magic barrier kept air. Naruto fell so fast that he hit the surface hard enough to break the moon's crust. The heart of the Shadow Moon Naruto was lying in the dark hole. There were no sounds here. Kurama hissed, "Get up, he is messing with you. He is checking how strong the vessel is." "I know," Naruto said, breathing heavily as he looked up into the purple sky of the time barrier. "He's strong, Kurama. Stronger than Kaguya. She was powerful, but she was also dumb. This guy. He's a doctor." Naruto shut his eyes. He could feel the moon shaking under him. "Hold on. Is it vibrating?" This moon wasn't real. It was a jail. The prisoner was awake deep down in the heart of the asteroid cluster. The shadow of the void. The beast of anti-life and hunger that Naruto had put aside months ago. It was moving about a lot. It felt the energy. It felt the effects of motion. It was famished. Naruto murmured, "The enemy of my enemy," and a strange plan started to take shape. Kurama told Naruto, "No, that thing consumes energy from motion. It consumes chakra. It will eat you if you let it out." Naruto sat up and muttered, "Ashiki shrinks matter. He shrinks attacks, but can he shrink hunger?" Naruto put his hand on the ground. Core breach in Earth style. He didn't put up a wall. He dug a hole. He poured chakra into the ground, which broke up the asteroids and made a direct shaft down to the core gravity well, where the void shadow was stuck in amber. Naruto yelled down the hole, "Time for breakfast." He shot a Truth Seeker orb down the hole. Crack. From deep down, the sound of glass breaking resonated. Then a scream. A scream of pure, unfiltered yearning. From the hole came a fountain of dark sludge. The void shadow was free. And it was bigger than it had been. It has been sitting in its own hunger for months. It rushed toward Naruto like a wave of darkness. Naruto didn't run away. He put his arms out. "Come on," Naruto said, "put me on." He used the chaos magic he had mastered. The deal. "I give you my body as a channel," and Naruto sent his will to the creature. "You get to eat, but I get to drive." The void shadow didn't think twice. It hit Naruto hard. It didn't eat him, it covered him. The Nine Tails' golden cloak turned dark. The orange flames went out, and in their place was a whirling, vantablack aura that seemed to suck up the light from the stars. The whisker marks on Naruto's face changed into purple tears that were jagged. Naruto woke up. The whites were gone. They were black and had a crimson iris that glowed. Naruto's voice said, "Let's dance," and the shadow's voice screeched. The surface Ashiki stood there and waited. He looked at his wineglass again. He had made it bigger. "Not interesting," he said in a low voice. "Maybe I should just harvest him now and figure out how to get the fox later." The ground blew apart. A black blur came out of the hole. Now it moved in a new way. It didn't push air out of the way. It got rid of friction. Ashiki squinted. More tricks? He called up a black rod, made it very small, and shot it toward the blur's heart. The rod hit the dark aura. It didn't break through. It came to a stop. The rod's kinetic energy was gone right away. The rod fell to the ground without hurting anyone. Ashiki scowled and said, "What?" The blur was on him. Naruto hit. Ashiki stopped it with his forearm. Thud. A blocked punch usually sends force. Ashiki got ready for the hit. There was no effect. Instead, Ashiki's arm started to feel numb. His muscles lost the kinetic energy of his own block. It takes in motion, Ashiki thought as he jumped back. Naruto stood there, surrounded by the void armor. He looked like a monster. A shadow of sadness with a smile like a ninja's. Naruto remarked, "You like to make things smaller?" His voice was warped. "Try to make this smaller." Naruto clapped his hands. He didn't employ a jutsu. He used the empty space. He made a vacuum of potential energy. He sucked the air out of a 1-mile radius, which stopped the motion. Ashiki suddenly stopped. He wasn't paralyzed, he just wasn't moving at all. He was stuck in a place where nothing moved. Void rush. Naruto jumped up. He didn't hit Ashiki, he took hold of him. He took hold of the Otsutsuki King's belt and throat. Driver of the pile. Naruto flew up. He pulled Ashiki into the moon's atmosphere, higher and higher, until they met the purple barrier of the Chronos lock. Then he turned around and jumped. He sped up. Mach 10. 50 Mach. 500. The void shadow shrieked with joy as it ate up the speed. Ashiki had a hard time. He sought to make himself smaller. But the void was on his skin. It was taking away his chakra. It was messing with his dojutsu. The king was being pushed around for the first time in thousands of years. Impact on Earth. Naruto hit Ashiki hard against the shadow moon. Crack boom. The whole moon broke. Not a crater, the moon. The asteroid cluster fragmented, resulting in a million floating rocks. The force of the impact was absolute. Ashiki lay in the middle of the debris field. His white coat was tattered. He was bleeding from the mouth. He stood up, shivering from wrath. "You." Ashiki spit. "You dare use a lower life form, a parasite, against a god?" Sukanahakona. Absolute compression. He didn't diminish the matter. He shrank the void. He focused his sights on Naruto's black armor. Disappear. The void shadow screamed as it was compressed. It was gradually reduced to the size of a black stone floating in space. Naruto was left floating, stripped of his armor, and panting. The void was gone. Clever, Ashiki conceded, wiping the blood from his chin. "But now you are naked, and I am angry." Ashiki rose up. His horn started to glow. "I have played enough. My lifespan is shortening. I will end this." He raised his hand. He summoned the gigantic black cubes from the lunar rubble once more. However, this time there were hundreds of them. "Time is up, Fox." The barrier Constantine's magic was failing. The energy released by breaking the moon had disrupted the spell. Create. Naruto had a thought. Create something he cannot shrink. He examined the rubble. He gazed at the stars beyond the barrier. He remembered the lesson from the null chamber. Transaction. "Ashiki." Naruto exclaimed. Ashiki paused, the cubes ready for crushing. "Any last words?" "Yeah," Naruto grinned, blood on his teeth. "You forgot one thing." "And what is that?" "We're in a debris field." And debris is just dust waiting to be a star. Naruto clapped his hands. He did not use chakra. He used sentry power. He gathered the atoms from the shattered moon. All of them. Molecular fusion. He pushed the atoms together. He did not make a rock. He stripped the electrons. He compacted the nuclei. He triggered fusion. A small sun emerged just in front of Ashiki's face. It was not a Rasengan. It was a real nuclear star. Eat this. Naruto hurled the sun. Ashiki's eyes expanded. He attempted to shrink it. However, a star is more than just matter. It is gravity. It is radiation. It's hot. As Ashiki attempted to decrease the pile, the heat increased. Flash. The barrier shattered. Earth orbit real-time. 1 second later to the Justice League, it happened in a moment. Naruto and Ashiki were briefly enveloped in a purple bubble surrounding the jagged moon. The bubble exploded the very next moment. A second sun exploded in the sky. Shields. Superman yelled. The shockwave struck the watchtower. The javelin twisted out of control. In the middle of the explosion, 2 figures were thrown in opposing directions. Ashiki Otsutsuki was hurled onto the ground, his coat burnt and his skin charred. He plummeted through the atmosphere like a meteor, aiming for the Nevada desert. Naruto was launched into outer space, limp and burning dimly with the final remnants of his power. "I got him!" Flash exclaimed over the comms, but he was in the watchtower. He couldn't run through space. "I have him," Superman announced. He flew. He caught Naruto's drifting body. Naruto was unconscious. His skin was damaged and glowing from lingering radiation. It was faint, but it was there. "He's alive," Superman announced. "And the enemy?" Batman inquired from the Batwing. "Impact confirmed," Cyborg stated. "Nevada. Sector 7. The target is down, but moving. Energy signature is erratic." Batman activated the Batwing's armament systems. "Justice League," Batman declared. The Batwing dived toward the atmosphere. "Finish him." The Fortress of Solitude was typically the quietest place on Earth. It was a cathedral of memory for a dead world, built in the freezing wastes of the Arctic using Kryptonian technology and sculpted from sunstone crystal. Today, though, it was a trauma center. Naruto Uzumaki floated in the central chamber, illuminated by the soothing, pulsing light of a solar regeneration matrix. He was stripped to the waist and suspended in a nutrient-dense, golden liquid. Cables thinner than human hair were attached to his temples, chest, and arms, feeding information to the massive crystalline computers that towered overhead. Superman stood before the tank, his red cape still against the calm air. His arms were crossed, and his face was grim. "Report," Superman replied. Kelix, a Kryptonian service robot, hovered nearby. "Biological status. Stabilizing," Kelix droned. "The subject's cellular regeneration is accelerating. The solar radiation from the matrix is being absorbed at 400% efficiency. His bones have knit. The epidermal burns have healed." She hadn't left her room in 12 hours. "Physically, the vessel is repairing itself," Kelix explained. "However, the neural patterns are disjointed. There is no alpha rhythm. No delta waves. The brain is active, but the consciousness is absent." "He's not in there," Diana said quietly, her gaze drawn to Naruto's slack face floating in the gold fluid. "He created a star, Diana. A literal fusion reaction in the palm of his hand. And before that, he used magic to erase a god. He spent everything." "Not everything." Diana rose up and approached the glass. She put her hand against it. "He promised. He said he would always find his way back." The mindscape, the gray void Naruto was floating. It was not like floating in the tank. There was no liquid. There's no temperature. There's no gravity. He wasn't in the sewers anymore. He no longer met Kurama in the wet, echoing caverns. He wasn't in the lush woodland he'd established since meeting Swamp Thing. Static. Like an ancient television tuned to a dead station. "Hello?" Naruto shouted out. His voice did not echo. The sound simply came out of his mouth and died. He gazed at his hands. They were transparent. Fading. "Am I dead?" he said aloud. He did not experience fear. That was the scariest part. He felt profound and crushing indifference. Stop. To close his eyes and fade into the static. The anguish of losing Sasuke has subsided here. The weight of Bloodhaven was gone. I was no longer afraid of Ashiki. It was serene. The voice rumbled through the gray. It was not loud, but it had mass. Naruto turned. It was a dude. Or, to be more specific, a man-shaped figure composed completely of glowing orange chakra. He had wild hair that resembled ears, and 9 tails hung from his clothing like a robe. You look different. I am condensing my form, the 9 tails avatar said, taking a step closer. To conserve energy. And to slap you. Kurama raised his hand and flicked Naruto on the forehead. Ow. Naruto recoiled and rubbed his head. That actually hurt. Good, Kurama hissed. I'm asleep. You are fading, Kurama clarified. Kurama pointed to the dark space around them. I remember who I am. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Ninja. Hokage. Wait, no, not Hokage. Guardian. What is your favorite color? Kurama inquired sharply. Orange. Naruto replied instantly. Why? Naruto paused. Because. It's bright. Because. He frowned. Why did he prefer orange? He knew he did. But the feeling that came with it, the warmth, the desire to be seen, the defiance of his childhood, was hazy. Difficult to grasp. See? Kurama cautioned. I don't want to be a phenomenon, Naruto murmured, panic creeping up the edges of his apathy. How do I go back? You have to reclaim what you traded, Kurama explained. Not the grief. That is gone. You have to fill the hole with something else. Something heavy enough to anchor a god. A door appeared in the static. Walk, Kurama instructed. The memory lane Naruto walked through the door. He wasn't inside the ramen shop. He was in a hallway full of photo frames. But the images were moving. He looked at it. He felt nothing. That's sad, Naruto said distantly. I used to cry there. You traded that pain, Kurama said, walking alongside him. To kill Urashiki. Keep walking. He passed another frame. Jiraiya handed him a popsicle. Naruto paused. He smiled. Pervy sage. However, the ice cream in the picture was gray. He couldn't recall the taste. He could not recall the sensation of the splitting wood stick. I've lost the taste, Naruto murmured. Constantine said magic takes the small things. Keep walking, Kurama advised. Find the new ones. The ones you haven't spent yet. The hallway has altered. The Konoha frames faded and were replaced by new ones. Images depict a grungy, neon-lit metropolis. She smells like yeast and lavender, Naruto remarked, closing his eyes. And she calls me, dear, it makes me feel warm. The floor became solid. Good, Kurama said with encouragement. More. Heavier. It was a night on the roof with Batman. Bruce Wayne stopped being a billionaire and became a mentor. Trust, Naruto said. The walls in the hallway began to paint themselves. Color restored. The drab transformed into yellow. Naruto rushed to the last frame. It was enormous. A floor-to-ceiling portrait. It was an apartment in Paris. It rained outside. Diana sat on the couch, reading a book, with her glasses perched on her nose. She looked up and smiled. Naruto stared at the image. He sensed it. He felt a thud in his chest. The total, dreadful vulnerability of loving someone who can break you just by leaving. He reached out to touch the frame. Grab it, Kurama exclaimed. Naruto grasped her hand. The Fortress of Solitude, the physical world, the sirens on the Matrix console blared. Beep beep beep. Kellex announced, brain activity spiking. Alpha waves detected. Theta waves synchronized. The pilot has returned. Inside the tank, Naruto's eyes opened. They shone blue. Not the faint blue of a ghost, but the rich, ocean blue of a thriving storm. He did not wait for the drainage cycle. Naruto punched the glass. Crash. Crystal shards and golden fluid surged outward, filling the room floor. Naruto landed on the wet floor, wheezing, shivering, soaked, and partly nude. Naruto. Diana dropped the sword and dashed towards him. She didn't care if the fluid ruined her boots. You're back, she whispered, bringing him close. Naruto clung to her. He was shaking. He buried his face in her neck and inhaled deeply. And ozone. And metal polish. What? Diana inquired, bewildered but relieved. You smell like vanilla and metal polish. Naruto laughed weakly, shivering. I remember the smell. Superman moved forward, his face relaxed for the first time in hours. Welcome back, Sleeping Beauty. Naruto looked up, his eyes were clear. How long was I out? 12 hours, Superman announced. Naruto stiffened. Ashiki? He crashed in Nevada, Superman explained, his expression darkening. Batman mobilized the League. They're engaging him now. But, he's desperate, Superman explained. He's hurt, which makes him dangerous. He's not trying to conquer anymore. He's trying to survive. He's shrinking everything in his path to find biomass to consume. He's eating the desert. He ate Las Vegas, Superman explained coldly. Or, he shrank it. We don't know if the people are alive inside his pocket dimension or processed. Naruto stood up. His legs shook, but he forced them to support his weight. I don't care, Naruto replied. He gazed at Diana. He's looking for a vessel, right? Yes, Diana said, nodding. That is the working theory. He won't take Clark, Naruto stated, glancing at Superman. Clark is strong, but his biology is incompatible with the chakra fruit. He needs an Otsutsuki-compatible host, or someone who has held that power before. Naruto pointed at himself. He wants me, and if he can't have me, he'll look for the next best thing. Who? Kawaki, Naruto muttered. Or, in this dimension, maybe no one, but he'll tear the planet apart looking. He moved over to the pile of clothes Kellex had prepared. It was not his tracksuit, it was the armor Bruce had designed. Sleek black and orange plating strengthened with nth metal. The boom tube generator is offline, Superman stated. But I can fly you. Too slow, Naruto remarked. He examined the broken hilt of Sasuke's sword, which Diana had placed on the table. He took it up. But fumes are flammable, let us burn. Naruto attached the hilt to his belt. Why? Diana inquired. No, Naruto said, zipping up his combat vest. I want him to open a door. Not a portal through space. A portal through the ley lines. If I'm going to Nevada, I'm taking the planet with me. Nevada Desert Sector 7. The desert was gone. In its place lay a crater 50 miles wide. He looked horrifying. His skin was cracked and leaking energy. He was panting heavily. Around him, the Justice League was dispersed. Green Lantern's structures were shattered. Flash was down, his leg fractured. Aquaman was dehydrated and wheezing in the dry sun. Batman's Batwing was a smoldering wreck on the horizon. Only Martian Manhunter remained standing, cradling his head and psychically battling the alien. Give up, Ashiki said. He raised his hand. Daikokaten. A huge black cube loomed over Jean. I will crush you all. And then I will find the fox. Rumble. The ground didn't simply shake. Ashiki froze. Wood style? The sand swirled. A figure emerged from the dust. Naruto didn't resemble a ninja this time. He was gleaming with a faint white light. The Truth-Seeker orbs were gone. In their place, 9 spectral tails of pure white energy hover behind him. He strolled barefoot in the sand. You look terrible, Your Majesty, Naruto explained quietly. You. Ashiki scowled, his eyes bloodshot. You should be dead. I felt your fire go out. I took a nap, Naruto explained. And I had a nightmare. But then I woke up. Naruto lifted his hand. Cacti exploded, forming huge, towering succulents. Grass sprouted like wildfire across the burnt sand. This planet isn't a harvest farm, Ashiki, Naruto remarked, his voice filled with the sage's power. It's a garden. And I'm the gardener, he pointed to the king. And you are a weed. The Nevada desert had become a contradictory oasis. Wildflowers bloomed in impossible colors amidst the scorched craters and broken machinery of the Justice League, defying the harsh sun with neon blues, deep purples, and vibrant oranges. In the heart of this unexpected Eden stood 2 gods. Ashiki Otsutsuki was no longer the person he used to be. His white cloak was gone, displaying a pallid, scarred chest that heaved with effort. His golden eye was bloodshot and swirling furiously as he attempted to study the energy emanating from his opponent. Naruto Uzumaki remained quiet. He was not in his Kurama mode. He was not in his six paths mode. He was participating in something new. His skin had a faint bark-like texture that was both subtle and dazzling. His hair was no longer yellow, but white gold, like sun-bleached wheat. The air around him breathed, rather than hummed with power. Every inhalation pulled energy from the flowering desert, while every exhale replenished it. "You have merged with the planet," Ashiki exclaimed, wiping black blood from his lip. "Disgusting. A lower life form claiming stewardship over a seedbed. It's symbiosis. You take. We share. Then share this." Ashiki lunged. He did not shrink back this time. He knew Naruto could detect him even at microscopic scales. Instead, he reduced the gap between them. Sukanahakona. He constricted space. He was 50 yards distant one moment and buried his fist in Naruto's stomach the next. Boom. The crash produced a shockwave that crushed the recently growing forest for a mile. Naruto did not fly back. He did not even flinch. His feet had rooted into the ground, literal chakra roots that held him to the bedrock. He gazed down at Ashiki's fist. "Is that it?" Naruto inquired. "Impossible. I hit you with enough force to crack a tectonic plate." "You hit the earth," Naruto explained. "I dispersed the kinetic energy through the root system." "You didn't punch me, Ashiki. You punched Nevada." Naruto grabbed Ashiki's wrists. Naruto did not punch. He pressed. He infused Ashiki's body with nature energy. Raw, unfiltered, and chaotic life force. For anyone else, it's poisonous. If you can't balance it, you'll turn to stone. Or, in this case, frog kumite, planetary variant. Ashiki screamed. His arm did not shatter, rather, it began to calcify. Gray stone quickly spread from Naruto's grip and crawled up Ashiki's shoulder. "You dare turn me into a statue?" Ashiki yelled. "There are plenty of them." He shrank them, fired them into his own arm to cut the nerves and stop the petrification, and then resized them to detonate the stone. His arm splintered, dropping away like rubble. Ashiki staggered back, panting, now with one arm. He gazed at the stump. It wasn't bleeding blood, rather, it was leaking white chakra. His vessel was weakening. He hardly had minutes left. "I need a body," Ashiki said quietly, his sanity slipping. "I need you," but this time, his golden eye whirled in a desperate and last pattern. Daikokaten. Timeless void. He was not attempting to crush Naruto with cubes. He was attempting to swallow him. If he could keep Naruto there, he could take his time extracting the fox, planting karma, and changing the boy's genetic code. The portal opened, revealing a swirling maelstrom of dark and gold. It pulled Naruto with the force of a black hole. Naruto felt his feet slip. The roots were ripping. "He is desperate," Kurama cautioned. "He's trying to devour you whole." "Let him try," Naruto said through gritted teeth. He did not resist the draw. He let go. He flew directly into the portal. "You are mine." Naruto didn't go quietly as he reached the event horizon, though. He brought something back. He put his hand in his pouch. He took out a little, plain container. It was the salt jar that Constantine had given him. But he had changed it. He had been in the Fortress of Solitude for the last hour, putting a special seal on each grain of salt. "The Flying Raijin. Special delivery," Naruto yelled. He broke the jar within the door. A million grains of salt fell into the timeless dimension. And what about outside, in the desert? Naruto moved to another place. Flash. He showed up behind Ashiki, but he didn't just move himself. He sent the connection over space. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Inside the timeless dimension, there were millions of clones, one for each grain of salt. Yes, the dimension was timeless, but it could only hold so much. Ashiki kept wine glasses and cubes there. He didn't keep millions of high-density chakra creatures. The pocket dimension got bigger. It became longer. Ashiki screamed and grasped his head. "What are you doing to my eye? I'm filling the cup too full." Naruto screamed. The clones all started to make Rasengans inside the dimension. Planetary Rasengan barrage. From the inside, They hit the walls of the pocket realm. Crack. Ashiki's golden eye broke. In a real way. It blew up in his socket, blinding him and cutting off his connection to his most powerful weapon. Ashiki dropped to his knees, blind in one eye, missing an arm, and dying. The king said, "No, I am. Otsutsuki, I am a god." Naruto stepped over to him. The bright white light went away. He looked like a fatigued young man in a tactical vest. "You're not a god," Naruto murmured as he stood over him. "You're just a gardener who forgot to give his plants water." Ashiki used his last Byakugan to glance skyward. He saw the end, and at that last moment, his gut took over. The parasite's instinct. "Survive," Ashiki growled. He lunged. He didn't mean to hit Naruto, he wanted to touch him. Just a fingertip. Just enough to put the compacted data of his soul on Naruto's skin. Naruto knew it was coming. He may have gotten out of the way. But he saw something different. Batman had come up behind him. The Dark Knight had gotten out of his crashed Batwing and was limping toward the conflict with a kryptonite spear in case he needed it. Ashiki might turn if Naruto evaded. He might go after Bruce. He might go after the fallen Superman. Naruto didn't get out of the way. He grabbed Ashiki's hand. Ashiki smiled, his teeth covered with blood. "I got you." The black diamond seal of the karma started to move from Ashiki's finger to Naruto's hand. It hurt. It felt like fire flowing through his veins. Kurama yelled, "It is writing itself onto your DNA." Naruto. "Cut off the hand." "No," Naruto murmured. He didn't cut off his own hand. He channeled. He made the magic happen. The chaos magic that Constantine had taught him. The deal. Naruto told the karma that he accepted the data, but I do encrypt the file. He poured the chaotic, illogical, and rule-breaking energy of magic directly into the karma's ordered, scientific data stream. The black diamond on his hand stopped growing, it went gray. Then it turned white. Then it broke. The data got messed up. The Otsutsuki spirit tried to download itself into Naruto, but it encountered a wall of utter nonsense. It tried to understand, Stone Bagel. It tried to deal with, Hellfire Tea. It sought to figure out what, grief for existence, meant. It broke down. Ashiki stopped moving. His other eye went wide. "Error," he said with a hoarse voice. "Data, corrupted. Incompatible. File type." Naruto said in a low voice. He sent a rush of 6 paths chakra across his body. Ashiki Otsutsuki fell apart. He didn't turn to dust. He converted to data, binary code made of blue light, and then he disappeared into the wind, leaving no trace on the server of reality. Naruto was the only person in the desert. He gazed at the palm of his hand. There was a small, white scar that looked like a diamond. It didn't catch fire. It was only a scar. He dropped on his knees. The aftermath. The Justice League came to him. Superman helped him get up. Diana was there in a flash, looking for wounds on him. "He's gone," Naruto said softly, leaning on Diana, removed. "And you? Who are you?" Batman said, glancing at the scar on Naruto's hand. "I'm me," Naruto answered. "I think." He looked around at the desert. The flowers were still in blossom. The cacti were still very tall. The air smelled delicious and damp. "But I messed up," Naruto remarked, pointing to the changed landscape. "I let out too much. This desert, it isn't a desert anymore. I changed the ecosystem." Superman exclaimed. "You made it alive," glancing at a field of bluegrass. "Is that so bad?" "It upsets the balance," a deep voice said. The fresh plants brought Swamp Thing back to life. He appeared huge, like he was getting bigger because of the sudden rush of life. "The green is loud here," the Avatar remarked. "But it's good. The gray has pulled back. You have made a safe place." Naruto smiled softly. "A safe place. That's nice." He stared at the league. To his friends, Naruto said, "I'm tired. I guess I want to go back home. I want to check with Mrs. Higgins to see if she still has some cinnamon rolls." Epilogue. The gardener. 1 month later, Bloodhaven was quiet. The Grundy tree was still there in the middle, watching over everything. Poison ivy had officially taken over the building site, now a park. and was operating as the city's unofficial Parks and Recreation Director. The litterbugs were scared of her, but the flowers were beautiful. Naruto was on the balcony of the penthouse. The shadow moon was gone. It had been broken in the conflict. The sky was clear at night. He had a cup of tea. It was hot. He could taste the jasmine. The mystical toll was slowly going away. He was creating new memories. Diana left wearing one of his orange t-shirts. She sat next to him and rested her head on his shoulder. Peaceful, she said. For now, Naruto agreed. He gazed at his palm. The white diamond scar wasn't very clear. He realized that it wasn't just a mark. It was a library. Yes, Ashiki's data was messed up, but it was still there. The Otsutsuki clan is known, understanding the universe. And somewhere out there, other Otsutsuki would realize that their king wasn't saying anything. Naruto whispered quietly, "They'll come back." Diana replied, "Let them," and took his hand and intertwined their fingers. "We own a tree. We have a group, and we have a ninja." Naruto smiled. His whiskers on his cheeks crinkled. "Yeah," he answered. "We have a ninja." He drank some tea. "And what about next time? I'm going to show them how to cook ramen." Year on Earth. 2526. The Hanging Gardens of New Olympus, formerly Bloodhaven, is where it is. A human's life is very long. It is the birth and fall of empires. It is the act of flipping the pages of history books till the ink disappears. But for a sage who gives life to a planet and a goddess made of clay and divine intent, 500 years is just a long summer afternoon. There was no more Bloodhaven. The capital of Earth took its place. It was a bright, solar-punk utopia where glass towers flowed among huge, old redwood trees. There were no highways, just clean streams of water and ley lines that people used to get around. A little, traditional wooden house sat high above the city on a piece of land that didn't have any gravity, a vestige of the old shadow moon that had been turned into paradise. There was a porch that looked out over the curve of the world. Naruto Uzumaki was sitting on the porch. He didn't seem elderly. The day he combined his chakra with the core of the earth, time ceased affecting him. He had a little more hair, maybe put back in a loose ponytail, and his eyes were as deep as an ocean trench, but his smile was the same. He wore a loose, basic kimono over jeans that were comfy. He was taking the skin off an orange. A voice from the garden said, "You're doing it again." Diana strolled between the rows of blue sunflowers that were shining. She looked just like she did 500 years ago, beautiful, strong, and amazing. She had on a plain white tunic, and her armor was hanging on a stand inside the house, where it was getting dusty. "Doing what?" Naruto asked as he put a piece of fruit in his mouth. "Listening to the ants," Diana said with a smile as she sat next to him. Naruto laughed and said, "They're planning a rebellion against a beetle." She put her head on his shoulder and held his hand. "It's very dramatic. It makes me think of the Justice League meetings from back in the day. Too much yelling, not enough action. Do you want it back?" Diana asked in a gentle voice. Naruto stared up into the sky. Light ships were traveling toward the stars, and mankind was spreading out into the cosmos, safe because of the peace he and Diana had achieved. "I miss the guys," Naruto said. "I miss Bruce's whining. I miss hearing Clark speak. I even miss when Constantine called me an idiot." "They're taking a break," Diana replied, "and here we are." "Grandpa." The serene silence was broken by the sound of a sonic explosion. A flash of gold and blue light flew across the sky and landed on the grass with such accuracy that it cracked the ground a little. Old habits. It wasn't a kid. He was a tall young man with messy black hair and blue eyes like Naruto's. Naruto smiled and said, "Boros." The costume he wore was made of Kryptonian fabric and Amazonian metal. "You're late for lunch." "I was busy," the grandson responded as he brushed off his clothes. "There was a sun eater close to the Vega system. Mom told me to take care of it." "And I gave it a chakra fruit," Boros said with a shrug. "It's sleeping now." "Good gardening," Naruto said with a nod. The air suddenly sparkled. A tall woman emerged out of a green-leafed gateway. Her skin had a faint greenish hue, and her hair was crimson like the Uzumaki clan. "Grandmother." "Grandfather," she said with reverence. Their middle child, Hannah, was the current guardian of the green. Hannah, Diana said as she jumped up to hug her, she spent most of her time talking to forests on other planets. You smell like Jupiter. The storms are calming there, Hannah said with a smile. The moss is finally starting to grow. Dad, the terraforming project in the red spot is 80% done. Great, Naruto said. The door to the residence then opened. A guy came out. He had blonde, spiky hair and big shoulders, which made him look the most like Naruto. But he walked like Wonder Woman, with the grace of a queen. He wore the cloak of a Hokage, even though the title was no longer used. This was their oldest child, Kenji. Kenji remarked, I brought the wine, holding out a bottle that seemed older than the home. The High Counselor of the United Earth Federation, from Bruce's private cellar. The 2024 vintage, it was kept in a stasis field. The meal they sat in the garden around a modest table made of wood. The floating island moved slowly, letting them see the sunset over the Atlantic. It was a family dinner, but the visitors were famous people. Kurama was sleeping on Diana's lap and was the size of a normal fox. He liked being small these days. He would wake up from time to take a piece of chicken off Kenji's plate. So, Kenji said as he poured the wine, Dad, the council is asking for you again. They want to know if you'll give a speech for the 500th anniversary of the peace treaty. Nope, Naruto said as he slurped his noodles. I'm done working. Now you are the leader. You make the speech. Kenji groaned and said, they want to see the Golden Guardian. They think you're a story. Naruto winked and said, I'm a myth. Myths don't talk. Ramen and naps are what myths do. Mom, Hannah said. The Amazons in Sector 7 want help building the starship. They plan to call the flagship the Diana. Diana gently told them to call it the Hippolyta. My mom would have loved to go to space. Boros, the grandson, stared at Naruto. That you fought a person who could make stars smaller? And you hit him with a jar of salt? It wasn't just salt, kid. It was salt that worked wonders, and yes, he was a real pain in the neck. Boros asked, what about Uncle Sasuke, the shadow? Naruto's smile got softer. He stared at the lone cherry tree that grew on the border of the floating island. It was always blooming, with pink petals dropping into the clouds below. Naruto whispered softly, he was the best of us, he's looking. Most likely judging how I eat at the table. The kids cleaned up the table as the stars started to show up. Stars that people now lived among. They laughed and fought over who would do the dishes, even though they could do them with a thought. Naruto and Diana were at the edge of the island. Naruto put his arm around her waist. She leaned against him and put her head on his chest. We did good, Naruto said. We did, Diana said. She stared down at the globe. A world free of war. A world where technology and nature worked together. A world that their kids kept safe. Do you feel bad about it? Diana inquired. Staying here? In this part? You never went back to Konoha? Konoha is a memory, Naruto answered. This. He pointed to the family behind him, the woman in his arms, and the fox sleeping on the porch. This is home. Her eyes were still the same blue as the sea in the Aegean. Besides, Naruto said with a grin, making the whiskers on his cheeks crinkle. I promised to take you to that ramen shop in the Andromeda Galaxy. I heard they finally learned how to make a good broth. 500 years, Diana chuckled, and you still think about your stomach. Naruto said as he kissed her forehead, being immortal makes you hungry. Diana spun around in his arms and kissed him. It was a kiss that held 500 years of wars, victories, tranquil mornings, and long nights. Two souls that had found their mooring amid the chaos of the multiverse kissed. Happy anniversary, Ghost, she said. Happy anniversary, Princess, he said. A single petal fell from the cherry tree behind them. It floated on the wind, rising up to the stars and taking the story of the ninja and the goddess with it for all time. The end.